Welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. We have another wonderful panel discussion episode for you. Our guests are Brian Heiler.
Hi.
Rich Hurley.
Hello.
Danielle Gelehrter, also known as Penny Dreadful. Andy Halloween. And the lovely Amy Vampy. Thank you all for being here.
And Snackula.
Thank you.
Snackula. What breed is Snackula?
Snackula or Chihuahua.
I wish Billy would jump up here.
Oh, yes. We got to get Billy.
He never does that anymore.
I know.
He used to do that all the time, and he went on strike, and he just, I don't know why. Maybe he's getting older. Maybe just jumping isn't his thing anymore. But he's usually here when I'm recording the episodes. He's usually sitting, just by the table somewhere. I can just look over and see him. And sometimes he's being mischievous, and sometimes I'm distracted. I'm trying to show you a toy, and I'm like, what's going on over there? He's eating the equipment. But he's not here right now. All right, well, as we are recording this, it's not quite Thanksgiving yet, but we've just come off the Halloween season. So let me know, everyone, any order, tell me about your Halloween season. How did it go? Who wants to start?
We can start. We went. We did a couple things. We went up to New England. We checked out Fright Kingdom. They were gracious enough to give us a kind of an all access pass, and they just put up a brand new dark ride there, which of course is one of our favorite things in the whole world. So we got to go check that out, do behind the scenes, walk through the dark ride, walk through the haunt, get to meet all the people involved. That was a lot of fun. We went out to Elysburg to Knoebels. We rode the Haunted Mansion, the haunted cars. They have this whole Halloween thing set up out there, and there's a haunt out there as well that we checked out that was a lot of fun. And then the day after Halloween, even though it wasn't quite Halloween and season anymore, we went out to Monster Bash and saw the Hammer Ladies, saw Brian. So we got
That's right.
It was good. It was a good. It was too quick though. It went by too fast.
Always does.
Right. Well, let's go to Danielle, because you are not, I think people who watch this show know who you are. I've been on your show and they probably know who you are, but just in case, tell us who you are.
I don't, who are any of us?
Existential.
Right? I am, I host a podcast called Terror at Collinwood about dark shadows. And I'm also known as Penny Dreadful, the horror hostess by some people. Hosted that show for 10 years as Penny Dreadful the Witch, casting spells and showing creaky old horror films. And I was joined by my snarling darling guru. And so I've been doing the rounds for a few years. And this past Halloween, I hosted the Raven live, the Roger Corman Raven at the Luna Theater, and that was a lot of fun. It was a big turnout for that. It was an indie theater, but it was such a cool experience to host a movie live with an enthusiastic audience who love the film. I mean, every actor I would mention, I'd say Boris Karloff and Vincent Price and Peter Lorre and Hazel Court and Jack Nicholson, everybody in the audience would cheer. Richard Matheson got a round of applause. It was really cool, and did a contest, giveaways. Went to a Halloween party as Mae West. It was a karaoke party. The more people drank, the better I sounded.
You haven't posted photos of that.
I posted a picture of Mae West holding Crispy, but
okay, I got it.
She was very confused by that. As my dog, my familiar, other than that, on Halloween itself, my friend Meredith came over. She's a monster kid too, and we hung out. We watched the color version of Werewolf by Night, because I'd watched the black and white one last year, which was great. I really liked that, and I watched the color version. I thought that was really good too. We hung out. We watched that. Then after she left, I watched The Premature Burial. It was fun. Just kind of a chill Halloween. Didn't go to work though. nobody should go to work on Halloween.
No,
Yeah.
I think we all agree. If you can take off on Halloween, it should be a national holiday for us anyway. Take off on Halloween. I did. I took off on Halloween. I didn't take off on my birthday, but I took off on Halloween.
Good.
Well, that's okay. So let's go to Rich. Rich, what did you do?
Well, the Halloween came fast and furious as it did for all of us. So it's, I answered the door for trick-or-treaters. My daughter went out trick-or-treating, no longer wants me to go along with her, but I was dressed up like Frankenstein. I had the Trick-or-Treat Studios Frankenstein mask, the sort of vacuform one that a friend had painted for me to look pretty cool. And I did have one funny story. Some boys showed up at the door that were my daughter's age, and I asked, who are you guys? And I said, do you know my daughter? And one kid is the kid that she has a crush on at school. He's like, oh yeah, I know her. She's my friend. When I told my daughter this, she was thrilled. She was super excited. And then she says, wait a second, Dad, were you wearing that Frankenstein mask the whole time? I'm like, yes, I was. So I was embarrassed by that. But I did do Canopy Lake Fright Nights. That was the weekend after Halloween in November. So I did go on some dark rides for Andy and Amy, and that was kind of fun. And then Halloween night, the only Halloween movie I watched the Frederick March, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Nice.
Which I had actually never. I got the Warner Archive edition. It was a beautiful print, and it was a great movie to watch. I'd never seen the whole thing because it just never really played in syndication in my area growing up, and it was a hard one even to get a hold of on VHS back in the day. So that was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I don't remember that being in syndication when I was a kid.
No, it was a pre-code horror film, so it didn't make it. It had some what would be considered racy. There's some brief glimpses of nudity in it, and
it wasn't part of the shock theater package because it's not Universal.
Right. Yeah, but I feel that Halloween season should run from Halloween to Thanksgiving. That should be the Halloween season.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think, though, I think I've turned over that it doesn't feel like Halloween at this point to me. It does with all these Halloween-y people sitting here and there's stuff in the background, but it doesn't. I think the Halloween glow does extend for a few days, but now it definitely feels like we're entering the traditional holiday season.
Yeah.
I'm getting that feeling.
I'm fighting
Brian,
it.
Yeah.
Brian, tell me, what did you do?
Well, honestly, I had big plans, but my work and life situation really, we managed to watch some horror movies. My wife and I usually get way more into the spirit, but I couldn't believe it was Halloween. The only thing really that we did that I'm really happy about is we kind of rented a cabin in the woods mid-October, and we brought some horror movies, and that was. I didn't think about it until later, but that was sort of like a horror movie experience to do that. We had a blast doing that, and I didn't hand out candy because my dog barks too much, so we leave a bowl at the front. But we did take a walk. I was really frustrated actually Halloween evening because I had to get to Monster Bash the next day, and I had 10 unfinished things. And my wife talked me into going for a walk, and it was. Oh man, did that do my heart good? There were just so many kids out there this year.
Wow.
There were adults really getting into it. There was one dad dressed as Spider-Man on the roof of a house.
Oh,
it was really something to see, and I haven't seen numbers like that since I was a kid. So that was pretty fantastic. That's probably the highlight of my Halloween. Other than
compared to last year, was that much of an increase?
Yeah, it was crazy. Mind you, like the streets, like not my street. My street, everyone turns their lights off. But the 2 streets down has become like a hub for kids. And my wife used to say years ago, like she was working at one school that was 2 towns over, and she goes, "Those kids go to my school." So they were being bussed in to go to this cool neighborhood. I think there's like full-size candy bars and stuff like that on this street. So they may have been kind of fudging. I think kids were coming from all, just not in the neighborhood, but there was lots of cars being parked, and I don't know. Something about that was like, well, it's nice to see Halloween still alive.
Yeah.
because, I can go to as many monster bashes as I want, but I'm in my 50s and it's these are the people that might actually be interested in Halloween later on. So
Yeah.
that was lovely, actually.
Yeah, I won't say my age, but I should take some pride in saying that I'm probably the oldest thing in this virtual room. I'm probably, well, I don't know. There's some toys that are older than me, but the oldest living thing or your undead thing in this room.
Yeah.
So my Halloween, well, I tried to, it's increasingly difficult for me to get into the Halloween spirit because it just feels like my idea of Halloween was formed in childhood when it was very different. I mean, I'm an adult. Maybe if I were a kid, I'd have a different view, but it feels very different now than it was back then. And it feels like I just keep getting further and further and further away from that kind of Brigadoon, which is for you, Danielle. that Brigadoon.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
That Brigadoon of that fantasy Halloween that's just fading into the mist. But as Halloweens go, this wasn't too bad. Like the last year, I had almost no kids, like 5 or 6 kids. It was depressing. I was just really depressing. So few kids last year. And it's interesting what you said, Brian, because this year it did seem like there are a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
Where did all these kids come from? And they weren't local. I saw cars pulling up and unloading kids. And I thought I just about ran out of candy. If there had been like 1 or 2 more groups, I would have run out, which was not the case last year. So that was very uplifting to see so many kids. But now I'm wondering, is this like a trend now that the kids are driving all over the neighborhood or be outside the neighborhood even, like looking for porch lights that are on to be like a community-wide trick-or-treating? I'd say fine, that saves the tradition of trick-or-treating. But it was unusual that most of these kids, I don't think, lived, certainly not on my block. I think a lot of them were from these cars that I would see pulling up, and then a bunch of kids would come out, which is great. If that's the trend, I'm all for it. It helps.
I think it may have a lot to do with like when we were kids also, we just could go out. And, I mean, like, honestly, I think I was put in charge once of 2 other kids. That was a mistake. So, but that was all you needed back then. And we would go into people's houses and it was a lot more trusting and accepting. So if parents have to be more involved, that's fine. I mean, the true spirit of the thing is still the same.
Yeah, when I was a kid growing up in a smaller town, I don't know if it's different possibly in the city or even the urban areas. I'm not sure where all you guys grew up. But we would go around our neighborhood, which was sort of a horseshoe neighborhood by ourselves. And then my dad would drive us to different neighborhoods in town.
Yeah.
Because we knew everybody in town. So he'd take us over to so-and-so street. This is where his buddy lives over there. And we'd trick or treat up and down that street. And that happens in this town too. Those kids that came to the door, they don't live in our neighborhood at all. That's why my daughter, was surprised that they were even trick-or-treating here, but they go around. And the neighborhood I live in is all like houses built in the 60s, 70s. So it still kind of has that feel. It's almost like going back in time. And there are tons of trick-or-treaters here because there's lots of cul-de-sacs and dead-end roads. And it's the same thing. People sit in their front yards with bonfires, handing out full-size candy bars. So it is fun. You do get into the Halloween spirit on Halloween, which is nice because other neighborhoods I've lived in, they didn't have that celebration of Halloween as much as this one does. So.
Did you ever live in an apartment building during Halloween?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's where I live. Yeah. 3rd floor. So I don't get trick-or-treaters.
Yeah. Like, I think it depends on I've lived in ones where there was just 2-3 story walk-ups. So you just put stuff in the lobby for the kids. It was all right.
But when I was a kid, we would go into, because they'd leave the side door open and you could go up to each floor in the tenement house and knock on each door. So we used to go like all over and go to all these 3 tenement houses because then you get 3 times as much candy.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, that's just good value.
I have a friend in Brazil who lives in a suburban area. And so I've only seen Sao Paulo in Brazil, which is very urban. And she was, when I met her in Sao Paulo, and then, so her name's Livia. If you know about my Coffin Joe story, you probably have heard of her. But so she's an attorney. She was working in Sao Paulo, but now she apparently has moved away from the city and she's in a suburban area, and it looks like an American suburb. And she sent me video of Halloween in Sao Paulo in this suburban part of it. And it was like E.T., but at night. But it was just tons of trick-or-treaters, like an old-fashioned American Halloween. I thought, well, I didn't know they were doing this in Brazil. And she said they hadn't been. It's something recent, that's a trend that's caught on. 10 years ago, they weren't doing this. But now there was kids just up and down the streets. You would think it was a scene out of an American Halloween from
that's what I compared my Halloween to this year. It was like E.T. and I just it had been so long since I'd seen that. It was such a good head clearing, I'll tell you.
I missed those days. It was because you would go out. I mean, there were kids everywhere, and there were all over. And this year there was an increase here too. I was pleasantly surprised where I am in New Bedford. There was definitely an increase in trick-or-treaters. It wasn't like ET level, but it was still substantial, and a lot more people decorated their front yards and houses and stuff. There seemed to be an increase in that as well. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's always nice to see.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this is a trend that continues. It's really an about face from the last few years. I mean, I hope it's not a flash in the pan, like maybe something got on TikTok and started the kids thinking about Halloween. Hopefully it's something that's a tradition that's going to continue to build. And I would really like to see Halloween trick-or-treating have legs again. Mm-hmm. I don't like trunk or treat.
Agree.
Right.
I once saw in the 90s, I was in New Jersey going to Children's Theater, and they had a trick-or-treat in a mall. So you just brought your kids to each store, and I was like, oh God, this
you
is
got a coupon
so
for
bad.
a free appetizer.
Yeah, I just remember thinking, like, I hope these kids, this isn't it for them. Like Hickory Farm sample bag.
Where I live, we have a historic district, and it's our main street, which isn't really the business hub, but it's an historic area. And a lot of the buildings are 200 years old, or, like Mark Twain era, or some of them even Lewis and Clark era, old buildings that's been preserved. And over the years, they've shot movies on this street. It looks like a movie set, part of it. And they have trick-or-treating every year on this street. And I did go to experience that, even though I don't have kids. I just like to see what looks like a Halloween, and there were tons of kids on that street, but it's kind of like what you were saying with the mall. They're going to stores, and it's more, it's more visually vibrant than being in a mall. Mm-hmm. But it made me think, well, this is why there's no trick-or-treating in my neighborhood, because they're all here on Main Street. Except this year they were on Main Street, but then they were at my house too, on my street. So I guess why not? I think if you can do like something like your community trick-or-treating and your trunk-or-treat and your Halloween night, why not do it all? Why choose one or the other? I mean, you get more candy anyway, so why not take every option you can for trick-or-treating?
There was something I experienced a couple of years ago. I think it was in Norton, Massachusetts. They have an annual Halloween parade, which they asked me to participate in. And I thought that was fantastic. It was so much fun. And all these kids were all dressed up in costumes all the way down the parade route, and their parents. I mean, everybody was just Halloween spirit to the umpteenth degree, and they were playing scary music as everyone walked down, and we were throwing candy out to the kids, and it was just super fun. I really loved that. So I'm glad to see that kind of thing still happens in some towns.
Yeah.
What's on your shirt, Andy?
Oh, it's the Remco Wolfman.
That's what I thought it was.
That's great.
Remco
Stand up a little bit. Let's take a look at that. Oh wow! Look at that.
Turn around.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now look over your shoulder.
New England held on to the Halloween traditions. That's one thing that's
Yes.
always the only thing that doesn't feel like it is the weather. The weather is messed up.
Yes.
It should not be 80 degrees on Halloween.
Totally. Yep.
That's otherwise, aside from the weather, because like you can't when you got shorts on and you're sweating and it's like it's Halloween. It doesn't give you that Halloween feel.
But I mean, it all depends on where you're from. Because my wife grew up wearing a snowsuit under her Halloween costume.
Well, it used to have that, but it's like it seems like for some reason the last few years up here, it's like it's hot on Halloween or warm like throughout.
Oh yeah, no, I had the windows open on Halloween.
Yeah.
It's like 80.
In New England, it was like always really crisp on Halloween. That crisp,
and you need that.
Yeah,
chilly.
It was warm in Missouri. It was definitely.
Was it? Yeah.
It
as
was
long as it's not raining, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Like
Rain would definitely ruin it.
The leaves hadn't even fallen yet for Halloween up here.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It was like it's crazy. But yeah, I think you're right, Andy. It's like I think because we're sort of in the hub of Halloween, New England has really kept the Halloween traditions. Like you've got, like Penny was talking about the Norton Parade. There's the huge one in Portsmouth, New Hampshire that they have every year. They have a massive Halloween parade up there. And then, of course, Salem, Massachusetts is insane now.
Yeah.
I mean, I went there
it's crazy.
a few years back around Halloween, but now they tell people don't even drive your car in there on the weekends because there is nowhere to park. And if you see the pictures of Salem, Mass, it's just wall to wall people.
I played on a parade float when I was in a Kiss band, and we played on a parade float and went all the way around Salem for Halloween for the opening of their Halloween parade. And at first they were like, "There's going to be a decent amount of people." And we're thinking, okay. And when we went through the streets, we're like, "There's thousands of people."
Yeah,
it's
it's crazy.
I don't even know how they fit that many people in Salem.
Yeah, it's not a big city at all.
Oh, it's a tiny little seaside community, and it's just wall to wall people there when you go there now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a big Halloween parade of superhero characters somewhere in
that was in
the East
Rutland,
Coast.
Vermont.
And the Marvel and the DC people would kind of mingle there. Yeah.
I did a whole episode about it on my channel if anybody's interested. But it's Tom. I can't think of his last name. He ran it every year, and all the creators would go there. Very early cosplay, like Len Wein, Marv Wolfman, Roy Thomas. They would all dress up like superheroes and things like that. And then they even did cameos in the comic books. They would write about this Rutland, Vermont Halloween parade.
Yeah, I think Batman was there and the Avengers were there in a separate issue. Yeah,
Phantom Stranger showed up. The Justice League. They even did a crossover where Marv Wolfman and a bunch of different creators go through different issues from DC and Marvel from that fall, and they would pop up in little cameos in there. It's the first unofficial crossover between Marvel and DC.
I love it.
All these guys lived together as roommates and hung out together after work and stuff like that. And they're like, let's do this sort of unofficial crossover. It's really cool.
I always thought they hated each other like West Side Story gangs as a kid.
They were always jumping ship to one or the other company,
Yeah. And soon Disney will buy them all.
Disney will own
Disney
everything.
will buy this show eventually.
We better be quiet or else.
Disney purchased some characters I did in kindergarten.
Well, Disney, I mean, they purchased Fox, which released Embodiment of Evil, Coffin Joe movie. So
Disney, Coffin Joe's a Disney character.
they're creeping up on me.
Are we going to see Coffin Joe at the parks?
I don't think so.
Hands
but
with kids?
Well, we better see Zira. But yeah, it's gotten. I've lost track of who owns what anymore.
Well, we need Disney to buy Susan Hart out so we can get I Was a Teenage Werewolf and
For real.
Invasion of the Thoughts Men and I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, all the good AIP stuff finally released.
So is that Zarkov's widow?
Yeah.
Is it?
Not Zarkov, Nicholson.
Nicholson.
Yes.
They split the.
Yeah,
And
she was
what did you
in
think? They're
Dr.
not gonna be
Goldfoot
worth
and the
anything.
Bikini Machine and some other films.
It's a bit like that fellow that had the Edison Frankenstein, and he just refused to release it for years. I think his name was Detlef. And And it was like, you have a piece of copper that's going to turn into zinc, like it is never going to make you rich. And it's just strange how he took that. I think he took that right to the grave, but now it's since been released.
Yep. It's true that those made a brief appearance on VHS in the early 90s, and you can find them on I Was a Teenage Werewolf, I Was a Teenage Frankenstein. They're all the fun ones, but she
How to
thinks
Make a Monster too, right?
Millions of dollars. How to Make a Monster is available.
It is available. Okay.
Right.
But does she really think she's going to make millions of dollars? Is it just like a grudge or something?
Might be a grudge, but Arkov's dead. So what is it? What's the grudge? Who's she holding it against? It was Nicholson and Arkov had a bad breakup, and he got some of the films, and they both split the films, and she's holding on to the rights to those.
Well, she doesn't want to release them. She got all the best ones, though.
Yeah, I know.
She really did. I mean, Invasion of the Saucer Man, It Conquered the World,
I know.
Teenage Werewolf, Teenage Frankenstein. Like, that's what AIP is known for.
Well, except who got Fast and the Furious? Because at least that made some money in the last few years.
Also, the guy who owns like the Ed Wood catalog, what's his name?
Wade Wilson. Isn't it Wade Wilson or something like that?
Yeah, or that's a comic book.
Deadpool?
No, that's Deadpool. It's Wade Williams. I can't remember. I know it's
Wade
that
Williams.
Sort of,
I think that's it.
Deadpool.
But he's had like kind of issues he released them on DVD, but then he's refused to put them out on Blu-ray, and people had difficulty.
Happened the same with the Russ Meyer estate, although I think that may have gotten settled recently.
I think either Vinegar Syndrome or Severin is working at getting those. Or maybe
I
one of the boutique labels is working it out.
Yeah, but it was like, they didn't give a damn if those films ever got released again. Very, very strange handlers.
Wade Williams or whatever his name is, he actually lives by me. I've never knocked on his door, but I don't know exactly what his address is. But apparently he's in my area. I think he's still around. I hope we're not. I think he's still around. Anyway, but let's go back to Halloween. So what about, the October? That's a time when all the good monster stuff hits the eBay. Everyone waits for like September, October to put all the good stuff out there because it does sell higher during that time than it does the rest of the year. So if you're going to sell a monster thing, you better sell it September, October if you know what's good for you. And like the second best time is maybe April, like tax time. People get their refunds. So a lot of people get kind of their wallets get pretty thin by November. They've all the good monster stuff comes out at one time. And you guys, a lot of you go to the conventions and the antique shows and the flea markets, and there's good monster stuff out for October there. So talk a little bit about some of your Halloween season scores. Like, what are some cool stuff you got over the last month or two?
I actually had a pretty rough October for monster stuff just because I was so busy. I searched and searched for, I was hoping to get a Ben Cooper Sleestack this year and a couple
rubber one or the costume.
The costume. I actually do have the Jiggler, but the pricing was really crazy. I mean, $250 to $1,000 is all I could find, and I was kind of like, I don't even think it's worth $250, but and I don't think it's sold. But so I really kind of had a tough go of it until I got to Monster Bash and actually got that. I put it on my channel, but that wonderful Mego Bullmark Kong piece from Japan.
Yeah.
That was probably the highlight. Other than a figure that's in the other room, I could show in a few minutes, but I'd have to go get it. But it also arrived after Halloween.
Rich, how about you?
Yeah, I think I spend more money around the Halloween season than I do around Christmas because you've got all the video labels putting their movies on sale, and then it's actually the worst time to buy vintage costumes because Andy and clearly Brian can attest to this. People just they want top dollar for the stuff at that time. Off season is a little bit cheaper, but a lot of interesting stuff will pop up around that period. which is sometimes you can get a deal here or there. I mean, I bought the Ben Cooper figures. I did, of course, get Brian's Lincoln Monsters.
That was the other reason I was really busy this October.
Frankenstein and Dracula, which I've
We'll
been
talk
buying
about
for.
those a little more in a minute.
Yeah, and then there's another cool piece that was a custom piece that I got, which is a mummy's tomb, which is kind of, it fits like Remco monsters and different things. But the cool thing I like about this is it has Karis's face on it. This was made by a custom guy. And Ray, I got something that you would probably think is cool. Again, it's custom. A Shriek of the Mutilated custom Ben Cooper mask. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I do like that.
A guy makes these.
Aw.
Yeah.
I like him.
You do the Blind Dead.
Yeah. He probably should. The other one I've got is a Visitor.
Oh yeah.
That he did from V. That's pretty cool. They're not cheap because they're customs. None of the stuff is cheap when it's custom made, but I like to support some of more of the, I guess you call it artisanal horror stuff.
Is the same guy? Is that the guy who makes the custom Shriek 8-inch figures? Because I've got a couple of those.
I think he did do that. Yeah, he may have done that. His name of his company is called Toy Den.
I think it's him.
Dennis.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's his name.
He's not. Well, I consider him local to me, but he's actually in Western New York. But
yeah, and then Recreature did the Mummy's Tomb, and of course, Brian did the Frankenstein and the Dracula, the Lincoln's mummies there.
Well, I helped.
Oh, I know there's a name of that company. I'm missing it now. What was it? What is it? Spectra X or just Lincoln International? I guess
Lincoln Monsters is supposed to be the name. Yeah,
Lincoln Monsters. So.
But I'm muddying the waters with all the other brands.
Yeah. So I mean, those are some of the cooler pieces I got. I did pick up a few costumes here and there and masks along those lines. And then my next big day will be Black Friday when Severin and Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome do their
Kino Lorber. Don't forget Kino Lorber.
Oh yeah, Kino Lorber is. I think I own their entire library. It's crazy, and I just have stacks of movies unopened I haven't even watched yet. It's insane.
Yeah, I've overspent on some Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome Black Friday sales in the past. But they're running out of titles that would inspire me to spend $200 on a Black Friday Blu-ray purchase.
Yeah.
But they might have some surprises this year. I did buy the Count Yorga collection and Spider Baby during an Arrow sale.
Such a great movie.
A couple weeks ago. So those are not new titles. This went out for a while. But I didn't have them, at least not on Blu-ray. So that was the only physical media thing I bought recently. But I am paying attention to what happens Black Friday to see if there's any titles that, wow, I never thought they put that out. That kind of a...
So supposedly, I think Vinegar Syndrome, this is a rumor, is supposed to release The Keep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a rumor. It's just rumored. It's the buzz in the collecting rooms right now that is possibly going to get released. Michael Mann hates the movie, wants nothing to do with it. He despises that he ever even made it. It's not the world's greatest movie, but it
feels like there's a good movie in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that one bugs me. It bugs the hell out of me because it looks like a good movie and it doesn't add up. It doesn't pay off, I guess. But
yeah.
Now this, I want to get to Danielle and Amy and Andy's Halloween scores, but because you mentioned The Keep. When I think of Collegeville costumes that should have been made, I think of The Keep. But did they make a Keep?
Not that I know of.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they made a
Deep.
They made a crawl. That's probably why I get confused. They made a crawl, right?
They did. They made the Beast from the Crawl and they made the Cyclops.
Yeah, so that's why I keep. But The Keep is the kind of thing they, in a fantasy world, they might have made. in the same world same dimension where they made Wolfen and.
What was that? They made that vampire bat movie, Nightwing, which is just a little bit more in the keep section, I think, than say something like Krull.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get to Danielle. Did you have any Halloween scores? Did you buy anything cool this Halloween season?
I'm actually one of those who sold more stuff than I bought this October. Actually, I bought more stuff back in the spring than I did in October, surprisingly. But I got back in, I think it was March. I got this Vern Langdon zombie, which was pretty cool.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I like putting him with the. With Murder Legendre, controlling the zombie.
So is that the sideshow or the more recent Murder?
This is the sideshow one. Yeah, that's the
awesome.
sideshow one. I've had him for a while, but yeah, I got the Vern Langdon zombie. But yeah, for October, I ended up. So my collection was getting a little. I felt I tried to keep most things in this room, the monster stuff, and it was getting a little. Crowded. It didn't look so much like a nice display as just clutter at some point. So I said, I'm going to thin this out a little bit. Pained me to do it, but I had to get rid of some stuff. So I had to pick and choose. I ended up unloading, went to a local toy store. They didn't have much monster stuff there. It's called Kojo's Toy World, and they're a great store. They're doing a toy drive actually for kids this December. So I'm looking forward to that. But I brought 2 big tubs of monster stuff. I got unloaded the Jada toys, and I decided to let go of the 8-inch sideshow figures, even though I like them, and I've had them for a really long time. Most of them since they first came out. Those 8-inch sideshows, but they're kind of they tend to break if they fall. They're a little bit clunky. And I said, I like these, but I have a lot of the 12-inch ones. I have the NECA ones that are coming out now. I said, I'm going to let somebody else enjoy these monsters. So, and he was really excited to take those. And he had put a picture up on his Instagram with them all on display and with pipe organ music playing. And for those where October is not the end of Halloween, it was really cool. And I sold a few other things, some carded Migos I had, a few Super 7s. And I'm thinking I have these, the Super 7 reactions here on the wall. Yeah. And the thing I like about those, I think most people, is that Ed Repka artwork is gorgeous artwork. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep those either, because I'm like, I love the Remco, the little Remco mini monsters, but the Super 7 ones, the artwork is really nice. But I look at the figure sometimes, I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling all of these reactions here. So we'll see. But yeah, like Ray, I also got the Count Yorga not too long ago.
Oh wow,
fantastic set!
A pretty great set. I also not too long ago picked up both of the Kolchak movies here.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. So
Dino Lorber.
Yeah, I picked those up. So
I have them on DVD, and then I realized I got them really cheap, and I realized it's just because they were released on Blu-ray
on Blu-ray
before, and I was like, oh well,
And
the Blu-ray set is chock full of special features.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I was up in Salem yesterday. Dr. Sarcophagi came up to visit, the horror host. I love Dr. Sarcophagi, John Dimes, and we were at Harrison's Comics. And I had heard of this comic, and I had been thinking of picking it up, but he recommended. He's like, "This is really great." But I picked up yesterday, Blackula: Return of the King.
Yes.
So and I heard that's really good.
It is. It's
and John was like really raving about it, so I picked that up. So I look forward to reading that.
So are they using William Marshall's likeness in there?
Roughly. it's stylistic comics.
Yeah, it's very stylized. I can kind of hold up some, kind of see.
Yeah.
It's evocative of William Marshall. But it's like painted artwork. Yeah, kind of looks like William Marshall there, right?
I think you could argue it's generic enough. But yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to checking that out. But that was it. And the link, of course, I got the Lincoln Monsters too.
Yeah, the writer of
those
that,
things. Yeah.
Rodney Barnes, the writer of that Blackula comic, he has his own podcast, called Run Fool, and he talks about like horror movies and things like that. He's a great guy. Like
Cool.
he's fantastic. But yeah, that's a good get.
Great. Cool.
I didn't
I
even
wasn't
know
even aware of it. Yeah, me either.
they're thinking about making a new Blackula movie, but they're thinking about a lot of things. But that's been out there for a couple of years.
I can't really see anybody but William Marshall in that role, though.
No.
But thank you for getting the Lincoln Monsters out in time for Halloween.
Oh.
that was exciting.
It didn't even add up. That was like, boy, I was busy in October. It was like, I because of that, because I really, it's not really work. You're doing something fun. So, I had a blast with that.
Well, let's get to Amy and Andy and their scores for October. What did you guys get?
We got some goodies. We got some show and tell prepared.
It was books, a lot of books and empty boxes.
Yeah, books and boxes.
Books and boxes. So
Empty boxes.
yes, yeah, I'll explain.
Oh yeah, that.
Oh
Yes,
wow!
I didn't
Cool.
know this existed until it was on Corey's table next to Brian, and I seen it and immediately was like, "I've got to have this." And this is
It's amazing.
This is mind blowing. This book right here, just unbelievable. And so there was that, and then Ron from Monster Bash put out an amazing book.
Yeah.
Flashback.
Oh, cool.
This talks about just his whole life as a monster kid and growing up, back
Little
in the
short
original
stories.
Shock Theater days and just throughout time. And it's fantastic. I can't recommend this book.
So it's
enough.
Ron telling his life story.
Yeah, his monster
Just
kid
like growing
story.
up a monster kid, and it's
Just
got a lot of cool because he was really good at archiving. He has so many photos of him with toys and costumes and
Wow.
lots of it's a really great book.
and there's great pictures of him as like a kid. It's just fantastic. It's like you feel like you're there with him, like just going through that time period. And since this is before,
It's got like a nod to Famous Monsters in parts of it, as far as like the layout. But we haven't really gotten a chance to sit down and read it yet, but
I read it.
I know you read it. But
it talks all about him. That's him right there in the front reading a classic. You guys can see that.
Wow.
So, and it's a great book. We love Ron. We love Monster Bash, and this is
Oh yeah, it's he's done an amazing job with that show and the magazine himself.
yeah,
and,
onto the
and then,
boxes.
yeah, just a lot of empty boxes for some reason. I bought a Count Chocula
First
the,
issue.
the
I saw that episode.
The shipping case.
shipping box.
Wow.
And I walked by that a couple of times at the convention, and I'm like, you know what? That's probably one of the very few, if not the only one left in existence. Like, who saved this box from 1971? And I walked around a few times, and then I finally said, you know what? I'm going to go make him an offer on this. I don't know why, because it's just an empty box, but I'm just like, something about it was calling to me. I'm like, there can't be many of those left. I gotta rescue it. So that was that. There was this
Oh wow.
Star Wars Premium, which I love.
Blueberry.
Big face Blueberry boxes.
Yeah, that's great.
Forgot about the General Mills Star Wars push.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense, but yeah.
Nice.
That
Oh,
is
wow.
awesome. That is awesome.
We have
We have the green one.
the green
and
one
I
where
had
it's
Chasing
got
this
the
pink
sticker,
one.
but this one we've been looking for a very long time.
So it was a lot
That's
of
cool.
empty boxes in October. So if worst case scenario, I can build a house and live in them if I
Empty
need to.
boxes and wallets.
There you go.
The theme this year.
So yeah, that's some of the October. Then of course a couple of costumes.
Well, you got that cool Dracula costume.
I did, and thanks to you, I got the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
I would have never seen that mask if not for you. So you know what? Shout out to Rich for doing the work on that Dracula mask, because if he didn't prove it to me, I would have never believed him that was the mask that goes.
I might have seen this video, but I forgot. What Dracula are we talking about?
The Collegeville Dracula from it's about what 61, Andy? 62.
Oh, but it has like a
it
bat
has a cat,
face
almost
or-
like a cat bat face.
Yeah,
for the mask.
okay.
It's crazy.
And
Yeah.
I had got the costume in the box and was like, what mask goes with this? And Rich, dangled that carrot in front of me for like 2 weeks straight saying, you got to wait till the episode. And I would message him saying, when is this episode going to be up? When are you posting this? Come on, I got to see the mask. And then finally he said, okay, Halloween, it's dropping. And I couldn't wait. That was like the best Halloween gift ever. I was like watching that with anticipation. Like, what does this mask look like? And there it was. And he showed it with the bat. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what? This is going to be like a prank. There's no way that's the real mask. It can't be. And like, oh no, I've done all my detective work. That's the mask.
Here's the catalog.
That's
This
the
is your
mask.
mask.
Like, wow, okay.
And then it showed up on eBay like a week or so later. The mask showed up on eBay. Did you grab that one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I was like,
Either that or Rich just pulled the greatest sting on you ever.
He did.
Yeah. He's like, how do I sell this?
How do I get rid of this dollar store crap?
I know. Now that I think about it, I think I bought it from a guy named R. Hurley.
Not Rich Hurley.
Yeah, not Hurley.
Rick Churley.
I can hear
since
the
we're
theme to
talking
the
about-
sting.
We're talking about old costumes. This is not a score. I realized that when did any of you see my Ben Cooper Frankenstein episode?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did the different. Okay, I really kicked myself afterward that I forgot to show this one, so I'm going to show it now. This is not a new thing I bought. This is just something I forgot I had. I really wish I would have shown this. This is a transparent Frankenstein that lights up.
Looking trick.
Yeah. And this would have been really cool to show on that episode if I had remembered it. But so I'm just going to rectify that and go here. This is what I should have shown.
That's
awesome.
neat. It's got a I know it's probably trying to be Glenn Strange, but it kind of reminds me of Dracula versus Frankenstein a bit too. Just the big mouth on it.
You have the light bulb with the cardboard battery.
Here's the
Power.
light bulb. If you see it.
Yeah. I've got the mask without the light bulb.
Careful, kids, that gets extra hot.
That's what I know, right?
And yeah, I'm not going to try to take that costume out, but
Is that the one that's powered by the battery?
Yeah, it has a cardboard. It has like
Yeah,
a toilet
there's,
paper tube. It's a cardboard tube.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a toilet paper, and you put a battery in
There it
It's
is.
crazy.
The early ones had a candle.
It's not OSHA safe.
yeah, orange cylinder.
Yeah.
That orange cylinder, I think that's where the battery goes.
That is crazy to me that they would have all right, we'll put it right next to the kid's head.
Yeah.
All my this battery and this light bulb on his head.
It's a different time.
Dude,
Fry your brain.
in the museum downtown, they have a thing that was in a shoe store in that same location where you x-rayed your foot, to make sure it was the right size. Just, radiation everywhere. So, not always, not all things are actually, things change for a good reason sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, yeah, I guess I got a couple of vintage things, but nothing really cool to show here. But I did spend a little bit. But there's just so much new stuff.
Oh yeah, it's really
Just trying
competing
to
for
keep
your
up with
dollar.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, the NECA figures, but also, did anyone buy any of the Trick or Treat Studios Topstone masks?
Yeah.
Did.
Let's just see those. Okay.
I bought the mummy.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know if I would have
Unaware.
another opportunity to show them where it would make sense. We'll show
Oh,
them.
cool.
So
I was
just
waiting for
like
the blue-haired one.
Nice.
Yeah, we're thinking
Oh.
about that one. We're probably going to pick that one up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I can't see it. Oh, there it is.
The
Okay.
hairnet. This is Lunch Lady Shock Monster.
Yeah, we
That's
Ah.
So Andy and Amy, is there another shock monster coming out?
There's actually there's another Shock Monster mask that Trick or Treat Studios did.
That had
where
like a
he
full
got
neck
more
or
like-
something like that, right?
Yeah, like he had more of a neck and he had shorter hair.
Yes,
Where-
the one they
There's a
did
blue-haired
years
one coming
ago was not supposed to be the Topstone Keith Ward. This one, the new one, it's not the Keith Ward sculpt, but it's a recreation of the Keith Ward sculpt. That's supposed to be the historic Keith Ward Shock Monster. Where the one they did a few years ago was an original take on the Shock Monster. Let's see, which one is this? Oh, this is the witch. Let's just show the witch in the mummy. Why not? I don't have my shock yet. I'm sure it'll be
I
coming
got the
soon.
witch. Nice.
Oh, great.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That is nice.
I might get the witch now that you're showing it, you son of a bitch.
They're really affordable.
That looks great.
Well,
I bought the Mummy was the one I bought.
Like $6.
Yeah, the Mummy was really surprisingly affordable.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I
It was $29.99. I think that's what I got.
They resculpted all these.
one was even, I think, only like 30 or
They did
40.
a good job capturing the original, classic look, but still making a new mask. And I know he went back and forth about whether to use the original sculpts or whether to sculpt new ones. I'm glad he sculpted new ones. I think that preserves the integrity of the originals, but also makes these, current instead of.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I love that design.
Ah, that's really cool.
And it looks a lot like the original. I've had it, side by side with an original. It's very close.
Yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I can't go down the route of rubber masks, man. I just don't have. It's like I've been buying a few too, but it's I bought that one because it just looked amazing. But
I'd like to get the shock monster with blue hair. Do you think that they'll put that one out? Like that
I'm sure
version?
they'll do it eventually.
I mean,
They would have started with black hair, but they've got a Halloween candy bucket, a shock monster candy bucket coming out.
Yeah, that's shipping in January, right?
Yeah. So I'm glad they didn't wait to put the mask out though. Look at him. He's neat.
Yeah, that's great. I was really shocked.
that one sold
I
out.
finally got the
Shocked by
notification
the shock monster.
finally going to arrive.
Here's something that I got. It's not really a monster item, but Brian will know what this is. I got.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw that on your channel. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you post about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a guy local to me found it, and it was like, wow, you found that around here? Like it just is. It's so it's from the States, but I guess it's a promotional item for a trucking company.
Just what a trucker wants.
Irwin Allen extra. I kind of think it's cool, but there's a lot of these kind of things out there. There's a few that are actually in Mego scale. In fact, one of them I think is supposed to be Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat. Like they had made a knockoff of that, and then some software or some medical software company turned it into a professor, like Dr. Double Twist. For all of these things, by the way, like they're for websites and for businesses that are no longer like .com startups. A lot of these guys threw a lot of money into promotion, and some really oddball things out there in terms of that. And that Sally's the latest one, and Ray got a packaged one, and I'm jealous. What'd that cost you?
What? Oh, $15?
Yeah.
Really
As
cheap.
it should.
Yeah. I'm not saying. But it's kind of neat to get a weird, obscure toy for $15,
Yeah, and it definitely, it's in my wheelhouse, that style well, I guess I was going to say that era. It's a little later than that, but still, it's right. It fits right in that genre with the stuff I like the Lincoln Monsters and all those crack toys and everything. And
yeah, she looks like she should be standing next to Dr. Chrome Dome.
right.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Chrome Dome should have one of her on each side.
That's right. Yeah. Although I've often joked that Dr. Chrome Dome does look a bit like a pimp with his cape and his swagger stick. So,
and speaking of Lincoln Monsters, yes, of course, I've got this. Now,
you got a shrink wrap set.
what?
You got a shrink wrap set.
Yeah,
I have an industrial shrink wrap machine, but I mean, in efforts of time, I couldn't do a whole bunch of those at once. So, yeah, okay, they're out there, but I mean, it's just plastic.
Ooh, you got a rare one, Ray. Don't open it.
Oh no, I've
That's why it's
created
still
a
in the
thing.
shrink wrap. It's not
Could
coming
be
out.
just packing peanuts inside that box.
Yeah, Frank had came up with a quicker solution for us, so that was I was very grateful to find it. because
So-
I didn't think about it.
Okay, so Brian, first of all, tell us about this project. What are we looking at here?
Well, two guys allowing one guy to do whatever he wants and just believing in him. This is what I look at it as. We wanted to start Lincoln Monsters, but we just didn't want to unveil action figures. We kind of wanted to build a bit of a history and have a little fun with it. And while we were waiting for the figures to get, it's a long process to get the clothing made and the prototypes done right. So we just kept making stuff up and having fun with it. And the outer box was an idea I had because I am a passionate Blu-ray and movie collector that, those things have sleeves, and I'm basing this on the phony, Lincoln International Movie Studios, which spoilers doesn't exist. And so I wanted to do like a Blu-ray sleeve for it. And then I also like VHS and that sort of thing. So I made the most ridiculous VHS covers I could think of that have nothing to do with the characters, and it just kind of fit together. And it was a real challenge because it was a bit out of my skill set. And
So you designed all this?
Yeah. So it was, and of course, I had help on the other box from Chris Franklin, who designed those brilliant movie posters. But I just decided to, I didn't draw the art. That was from some knockoff sources I had, thanks to my friend Corey. And I just kind of put it all together and made it look like kind of video box you might see back in the day. I used to have a beautiful Paul Naschy video box that I wish I'd never sold. And
was it like a big?
It was one of those giant clamshell ones, not clamshell ones, those giant boxes. Remember when VHS came in like, twice the size of the video kind of thing.
Yep.
And I don't know why I sold it. I guess just because I didn't think that there would ever be a market for it, or I'd ever regret selling it, but here I am.
Boy, were you wrong on that.
Yeah. No, I mean, here we are, and look what it inspired. So, I just had a little bit of a fascination with it, and we're going to keep going with that storyline and make a couple of original characters, then flip back to a couple more that are more faithful to the originals. And it's turning out to be one of the most fun things I've ever done. So I'm very happy with it, and I hope you guys are,
It will be a Wolfman then.
Oh, absolutely. No. Don't think the Hunchback's coming real soon, but we have some ideas for the line to keep it, new characters that feel like they're part of this. And we're going to go into different genres because Lincoln did. They did, Mr. Rock and all those other characters. And the world's our oyster. And we've got more ideas than money right now. But we will be getting out another wave very, very soon. We've got the heads made. Just working on the soft goods right now.
Now, I did see, I think it might have been in Amy and Andy's, one of their Dark Ride videos that you showed a werewolf head.
Yeah.
So and it was a bit of a Naschy-esque werewolf. It was more Naschy than, say, Lincoln Wolfman or Ego Wolfman.
Yeah, no, that was sculpted by Jason Schiermeyer. And the first thing I saw of it, I was like, that looks like Paul Naschy werewolf. And so I've got the task to write the kind of story for it. And we're doing an astronaut werewolf. So this is a lost Naschy film where he's on a moon base and Waldemar doesn't realize, it's a full moon in space all the time. And, stock footage spaceships, that sort of thing.
They should have made that movie like 78, 79. Where was that movie?
Yeah. Well, they could have made that around 75 with, like Space 1999 being so popular. It was just kind of a funny thought I had, and the guys backed it. And, we've also got our first female character coming in the next one because White Elephant has, not only do they have an amazing 8-inch male body sculpt, but they have just probably the best 8-inch female body you can use. That's the same one we used for Tersatana. So, we have no limits in terms of our characters. And I'm really looking forward to working with that.
Why did you call it Lincoln Monsters? Why did you choose to link it to Lincoln? What do the Lincoln Monsters mean to you?
Oh, well, that, I've gone on and on about that probably here before, but my dad sold them when I was a kid, and they were my first monster toys. So they really imprinted on me. I was convinced as a kid they were Migos, just very poorly made Migos, because I wasn't big on reading. But I think they just really, I've always just kind of gone back to them. They've just, always been part of this quest. And I actually, when we came up with company names, I had about 5 or 6 I presented to Frank and Jason. And Lincoln Monsters was probably like my B, like where I thought, no, they won't pick that one. They'll pick this one because it's pretty damn good. And they both picked Lincoln Monsters. And I was like, okay, I'm totally cool with that.
What was it?
You know what? I can't. I want to say something to do with drive-ins. I think it had some sort of like drive-in dolls or something. I can't remember. You know what? That's how long it's been. I've totally forgotten. But I remember thinking that's the one they're going to choose. So maybe it was Grindhouse Toys, something like that. But I'm so glad they did, because Lincoln Monsters has it means something, but it doesn't mean anything either yet. So it's kind of cool to have that one foot in the past and then this new concept for the future a little bit.
And the original toys, they didn't have a series title like World Famous Super Monsters, or
but they were called Monster Dolls.
Yeah,
I have a case. I have the shipping case back there, and it is 8-inch Monster Dolls.
Right, and the company was Lincoln International.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lincoln Monsters is a unique name that it's not. It's
more what collectors call them.
Yeah, it's what a collector calls those toys.
Yeah. They never had a brand. They never had a world famous super monsters. They never went that far. The best thing I can describe them as is somebody saw the Mego monsters, somebody saw the AHI monsters, and went, "Oh, I'm going to make these. Make my own." But you can see all the influences in them. And of course, the other thing I think is, are they the first Phantom of the Opera action figure company?
Jointed, yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah. And probably Hunchback as well.
Yeah, I can't think of another one.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Aurora made model kits, and I don't know about the
Mark's figures.
Yeah. Hunchback Jiggler. I don't know if that predates the Lincoln Monsters, though. But there were no articulated costumed figures of the Phantom or the Hunchback that I know of.
That kind of makes them special to me as well.
Yeah, and even as a kid, my brother had the Hunchback. Neither of us had the Phantom, but as a kid, I appreciated that they made the Hunchback and the Phantom. That was unique in childhood. Those felt like deep cuts even back then. And
it's funny. You're talking about like the 5th or 6th most recognizable monster character, but it's deep cuts outside of the regular world where they, people would know the Mummy and Dracula and Frankenstein.
Well, for the time, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, those were the only characters anybody made. And then Azrael Kenway made the Creature, which was, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was also a deep cut in a sense for that time. Because you just didn't see toys of those kinds of characters. So that was a big deal. And when Tom Lang comes along with a fly, just like, hold my beer, here's the fly.
Yeah. Well, the fly, the Devil's Reign. Like the what was it? The Yeti is Ernest Borgnine, essentially. That's crazy when you think about it. I don't think Devil's Reign was going to sell too many toys for kids.
No, I don't know. I wonder how they made that connection when they were trying to figure out.
I think it was just source material. According,
there were Bigfoot Yeti, movie stuff. So
I met a collector at Monster Bash who was telling me that the person who sculpted the Tom Land monsters worked for Convex, done Beepa Convex, and did a lot of cartoon, like Tom and Jerry squeaky toys and that sort of thing. And they probably just gave him, that coloring book or, whatever for inspiration to make these monsters.
Well, Convex released them in the UK because my carded Tom Lands say Convex on the card.
Yeah, and they also, I have a Convex international catalog. They were peddling those worldwide. The Famous Monsters of Filmland and the Star Raiders. Or no, Famous Monsters of Legend, sorry.
But they're the non-glow in your catalog, right? Yes.
Yeah, I don't have... If I had the glow catalog, Ray, you'd know about it. Oh God, I wish.
Well, so Danielle, you had the loose figures on display. So are they within arm's reach? Just
they're right here.
One more time.
Yeah.
I don't have a loose set. I lost them.
Yeah. They're really nicely made.
Yeah, I'm impressed with how they turned out. I mean, they feel heavy.
And they are, and they stand up on their own. Don't even need a doll stand for.
That was important to me.
Yeah,
are the heads solid or squishy?
They're solid.
Solid, yeah. And they come with two. I left the glow and the dark hands on, but they also come with regular hands. The sculpts are really, really nice on them. They look really cool.
And Dracula is green. Because of something Jason saw on my channel, which was I had one of those knockoff AHI Draculas in a baggie, the creepy, I can't remember what they're called. But he had a green face and he was like, I really love that green face Dracula.
I like it too. I'm glad you went with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it reminded me of Count Frightenstein from being a kid.
Yeah. Billy Van.
And so it was like, let's just do this. I like this a lot,
Now I also have this is I think toxic the toxic zombie toys as that Wolfman.
Yeah, what was that called? Plastic. Yeah, plastic zombies.
Yeah, plastic. Wait, I have it here. Toxics. I can't plastic zombie.
I to this company like White Elephant, whatever you just said, and there was something with like a palm tree.
Mm-hmm. Island of Misfit Toys or something.
But this one is not. It's not as it's not as. It's cool. Like I like it, but it's not as sturdy.
It's jiggly.
It's jiggly, and it doesn't stand up very well compared to. It's cool though. I dig it, but.
Yeah, I've got one of those Wolfman and the glow version of that, and it's a little jiggly. It's nice that they made it though, and and it goes well with those. But I'm looking forward to seeing this Nashi style, especially now that I know it's like space. That reminds me of like the Ben Cooper Astro Spook, or even Frankenstein I just showed you.
I kind of want to do my own take on the Astro Spook as well down the line, but it won't obviously be called that. We're not going to go there. But there's something I've been kind of fiddling with on that. I think a lot of us do. I have that skeleton in a spacesuit fetish that people our age often do for thanks DC Comics.
Is that where that came? Because I know Distortion's made a pretty well-known mask with the skull and the helmet, but does that go back to something DC related?
I mean, most of the covers of the DC horror books were skeletons. You had Ghost comics and Weird War Tales. It was always,
but in spacesuits.
Oh yeah, skeletons in spacesuits and skeletons in military uniforms.
That's awesome too. Yep.
It was always skeletons. Nick Cardy did tons of skeleton covers for Ghosts and Joe Kubert, of course, and everything like that. It was always. I think Brian's right that we just have a fascination with skulls and skeletons from this. It was dominant in the 70s.
You put a hat on them and we're just fascinated.
I think everyone here is really attracted to that 70s rack toy monster aesthetic. What is the appeal of that? I mean, like when Danielle holds up those figures, I mean, that gives me a nostalgic rush, but I think it's more than a nostalgia. I like that what's her face? What is her name? What's your name? Sally. That's Sally figure. It's a. What's the appeal? I mean, even like Andy and Amy. I don't think you were alive when those things were out, were you? I mean, so. But you like that stuff. So what is it about that aesthetic? What do you like about it?
The artwork. I love
the artwork. The packaging's incredible. It's just, I mean, I grew up with the rack toys of the 90s. So, I mean, it was obviously much different. But I think because rack toys was like, that was that thing that you could get. When you'd ask for the big thing on the shelf, it was usually like, no, it's too much. But you could still get a rack toy. There was always that, that kind of a nostalgia for the rack toys. And then as I got older and I was seeing all of these amazing monster related rack toys, I was like, okay, I need these. And the packaging really sold them. And just the simplicity of the monsters themselves. I
love that simplistic, especially more so the 60s. I mean, definitely the 70s too, but especially the 60s stuff where it's just like, we got to find a way to sell this product. So get whoever to draw whatever. And I like that where that stuff was so creative where it's like now toys, it's like cookie cutter packaging and everything is, and has
style guided. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All
I love
paste.
That, where it could be the craziest thing, ever as the artwork. I love stuff like that.
Yeah. Like if they had like a dart gun, instead of selling it as dart gun, just stick a Frankenstein sticker on it or monster dart gun.
Or Matt Houston.
I know when I was a kid, of course I loved rack toys. I didn't think of them that way. They were just toys. But I liked going to weird places like my grandmother. There was she called it the milk store. Let's go to the milk store.
We used to have a milk store too.
Yeah. So how do we describe? It's kind of a convenience store. Yeah. Kind of like that, but you could get glass milk, and I think there was a milkman that went to and from that store to your house because she did get sometimes milk delivered to her house. And I just remember monster and sci-fi stuff. There was this little section about as big as this table in front of me, these rack toys. And sometimes they'd have monster stuff. But one thing that stood out for some reason was this Battlestar Galactica gun. It was just this goofy cylinder with a little clicky trigger, and you put different colored discs on it. And it was branded as Battlestar Galactica. I'm sure they branded it as 20 different things over the years. I remember I just had a summer of fun with this goofy little clickety-click switching the little colored lenses on it. And that was probably 99 cents or something. And another time, it was I don't know what kind of store it was. It was a grocery store. And they had the Space Marauders bendables. Does anyone know what that is?
I do.
Yeah, so you know what the color forms are, spacemen are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Space Marauders I think they were unlicensed knockoffs, but they were shrunk down versions of the Color Forms aliens.
They were in the gumball machines.
This big, yeah. Well, they had carded ones. They had like the pair, 2 Color Forms aliens and helmets on a card. And I had one of those as a collector in the 90s, but as a child, I had that. And I remember getting really excited about the Space Marauders bendables at the grocery store, like at the checkout lane.
I have one here. That's why I'm standing.
Oh, do you have some there?
Yeah, but it's, I'll find it after we end, I'm sure.
Well, as a kid, I had the big Color Forms aliens, and I didn't differentiate between them. I just thought, these are more Color Forms aliens. I didn't know the difference.
Where did you get Color Forms aliens?
How did I get them? From the store?
Yeah, I know, but like you're not that much older than you can't be that.
Well,
much older.
toys stuck around a lot longer.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, that I believe.
True.
Yeah, I just found a picture from I'm going to be sharing it on the museum this week, but 1976 Gimbel's department store, and it has a huge Planet of the Apes setup. And it's like there wasn't anything going on with Planet of the Apes in 1976, but they were still all available and selling.
I bet. I mean, the ones. So I had Astronautilus, I had Alpha 7, I had Zodiac, I think, the big ones. And I remember teething I loved Astronautilus because he was big. I could chew on him, and he had all tooth marks in him. So he was my buddy because I chewed on him all the time.
Barbie feet.
Yeah. So, but a lot of my favorite monster toy memories of my childhood are probably rack toys like the Azrac Hamways and the Lincolns. And the Lincolns came from the Greyhound bus station in St. Louis. So every time I was going to or from my grandparents' house, I'd have to take the bus there. So I'd go to the Greyhound bus station, the gift shop. I would go straight to this little spot where the Lincolns, there were like 2 peg hooks with the Lincolns. And there was a summer or two where that was like my entertainment, was seeing the Lincolns. They weren't anywhere else in my area. That's the only place in this Greyhound bus station gift shop. So when I think of Lincolns, I think of going to my grandparents' house and going to the bus station, and there'd be Burger King. This was an indoor big. This is a big bus terminal with all the shops, like a little mall. There was a Burger King, and then there was a gift shop. There was all these different little shops, and it was almost like an airport, area in the middle with lots of seating. If you've ever seen Carnival of Souls, the bus station in that movie, it's kind of reminds me of that. It was like that.
Did it have those TVs you could put a quarter in and watch? Like black and white? Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, I remember those TVs.
Yeah, I did have that.
Yeah.
So Lincoln's to me is like that bus station and my grandparents, going to visit my grandparents. Well, let's see what else. Let's move on to we're heading into the holiday season, the Thanksgiving season. So now Thanksgiving is one of the most unmonstery holidays I can imagine. I mean, even July 4th, I can think of like Independence Day, the Alien movie, or I think, wasn't there a Uncle Sam slasher movie?
Well, there was a movie called Thanksgiving, came out, I think, 2 years ago.
Very recently.
It was filmed right around the corner from me. I don't watch slasher movies, but I enjoyed it. It was pretty decent.
Cool.
I haven't seen that. I've seen Grindhouse that has the trailer.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving trailer, but I haven't seen
it's pretty much, recreating that. They avoid a couple of the more extreme deaths that are in that trailer because those were more for shock. But it's pretty good. It's one of the better movies that has spun out of a Grindhouse trailer.
We still need Don't.
That's the one I want. Yeah,
that's the one everybody wants.
Yeah.
And there was a film called Thanksgiving. I've never seen it, but there's a movie out there called.
There was also a Poultrygeist.
Right. Wouldn't Blood Freak be a Thanksgiving film?
Oh yeah,
it's about a killer turkey.
Guy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think technically you can watch a lot of folk horror around Thanksgiving as well, because you've got lots of puritanical people with buckle shoes and hats,
yeah.
So you gotta watch Tygon films or something.
But most of those are European though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say Solomon Kane, the monster hunter.
Oh, yes.
With his pilgrim hat.
Solomon Kane.
My friend worked on a movie of that. It never really kind of did anything, though.
I saw the movie, but is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. It was actually pretty decent.
The movie.
Yeah.
It was all right. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I just expected it would get a bigger release or something because it seemed like a cool idea.
He's a fantastic Robert E. Howard character. He used to buy they did him in Marvel Comics, and the stories are great. He's really well done. Puritan monster hunter type character. Yeah, I love that character.
Now, when I think of something scary for Thanksgiving, I don't know how this matches with history. I didn't Google it. I'm just thinking of it right now. I remember one Thanksgiving, we're off from school, and I woke up wanting to see Thanksgiving parade stuff, and they had just discovered the Jim Jones Guyana massacre.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's what I saw that morning, was just all this coverage of that.
Yeah, you know what? I seem to recall my sister actually, she wasn't that much older than me, but it traumatized her hearing the tapes of that as a kid. Freaked her out. And it was it's just we just didn't have the parental supervision, did we?
Well, I don't think my parents are probably still asleep.
Yeah.
When I was watching that. And Well, so I remember the anchor, like when they finished the report on that, saying, "I know this isn't the kind of news you want to hear on a holiday morning, but that's the news."
Yeah. I can remember being in a theater and somebody switched the reels to a film with nudity, and we were watching the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner film, and then it just turned into a sex scene, and then immediately changed.
What kind of theater was this?
It was a second-run downtown theater that I grew up. Like, you know, it was you dropped your kids off for $2 and show them crap for 4 hours and then pick them up, you know. And we just ran wild in there. But yeah, that was par for the course.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, sure does.
You never look at Looney Tunes the same way again.
Well, we're heading into Christmas then. And I think there's a more monstery, topics related to Christmas.
Yeah, there's a darkness to Christmas in some regards.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you've got things like A Christmas Carol, which is a very dark tale.
Ghost story.
Yeah, and It's a Wonderful Life is a very dark tale. It's uplifting at the end, but people forget the middle of how dark it gets. It gets pretty dark.
Yeah, Jingle All the Way is terrifying.
I haven't seen that.
Just kidding. It's not a good film. I come from I'm half German, and there was always kind of a menace to Santa on that side, and we used to have a thing called I can't remember what we called it, but it was like the 6th or 7th of December, and you would get a little stocking from Santa. I think it was called St. Nicholas Night. And it either you got a little treat, just a little treat, some candy, maybe a toy in a stocking. It also came with a brush, like one of those, like, I don't know, like it's all straw, like you clean. And I remember on the label, it was Santa holding it kind of menacingly. And I asked my grandmother, and she not only filled me in on Black Peter, but if you're out of line, Santa's gonna hit you with that thing. And it was just sort of, I won't get into her Hansel and Gretel, which was the most well-read but terrifying bedtime story ever. But yeah, there was a, I think it was, my dad said, I grew up on Grimm's fairy tales. Like the stuff, the Europeans are a little darker with a lot of this children's stuff. And I remember kind of, there was an ominous vibe to Santa when I was a kid.
A lot of old
Christmas
world
is
sort of Santa illustrations make him look grumpy.
Yeah.
I like grumpy Santas.
Yeah, I'm cool with it now. I mean, there's no trauma. But
grumpy Santas are cute. I mean, the Coca-Cola kind of Santa, he's all right, but I like those kind of grumpy rustic scowling kind of brown outfits instead of the bright red.
Yeah, some of those old Christmas, those vintage Christmas cards are kind of unsettling too sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a little collection of vintage Krampus cards.
Yeah.
Show on the program one of these days.
My wife collects Santas and elves that are off. They're a little evil looking. And she does not run out of those things.
Well, the Victorian tradition of telling ghost stories at Christmas is where A Christmas Carol came from. And then it's a tradition in England to tell ghost stories on Christmas Eve. And I've always loved that because it is, it's when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. And so it is kind of creepy, and you're coming to the end of the year, and of course, my favorite Christmas Carol is Scrooge with Albert Finney because it's the most horrific. It has the greatest ghost effects. It's actually I saw it when it came out as a kid, and it terrified me. It's got great music too, but I always love that version of A Christmas Carol.
I agree. Yeah, same.
My favorite Christmas Carol is the Sanford and Son. Remember, like every sitcom.
We're going into sitcom Christmas carols.
We don't have that kind of time.
Mine is Odd Couple.
Oh yeah, that's
we're going for sitcoms.
When I was a kid, it was a tradition that the local college would always put on a Christmas Carol play, and then as a school field trip, we would always go see that production. So I got this live Christmas Carol almost every year, but it was always the same college production. And I think on TV, I mean, I don't know how it would hold up watching it as a kid, as an adult, but as a kid, it sounds strange. But I really liked the Henry Winkler.
American Christmas Carol.
Yeah. I like that one.
That taught me about two things: makeup, because I knew that was the Fonz, but also like artistic interpretation of things. Because by that point, I think I'd seen, the Mr. Magoo Christmas Carol and every other, and that was such an interesting retelling.
I liked what it says about like the Industrial Revolution, and for the time, it got a little more raw with the emotions than some of the more classical interpretations of the story had that I'd seen. So I think I responded to that as a kid. And it brought it up to the present day. Like the Ghost of Christmas Future was from our present. So that was kind of interesting. Anyway, I don't know how it would hold up if I saw it today, but I still have fond memories of watching that a few times. It was repeated a couple of years, so I like that one. Amy and Andy, what do you think?
Well, one thing is that there's a lot of great monster Christmas music that came out back in the novelty days. Once they, Bobby Boris Pickett, did the Monster Mash and then followed it up with a Christmas one. And then you had Monsters Holiday from Lon Chaney Jr. and Buck Owens had Monsters Holiday. I mean, there was that Christmas album that came out that's a monster holiday Christmas. Rich must know this.
Yeah.
That Monster Holiday record. So there's a bunch of. It's like they figured, well, let's try to do it again. Let's try to do holiday with Christmas songs. So I mean, we do have a pretty cool amount of monster Christmas connections with the old monster songs, which is great.
Yeah, there's that iconic picture of Frankenstein on the cover of I think it's Monster World, or is it Famous Monsters?
Yeah.
Strange
the
Frankenstein.
Santa hat.
The Santa hat. There's even one with the mummy too, but it's like I love that stuff.
That Christmas one is so iconic. That picture is
Yeah.
And we were talking about DC Comics. Every year they would have a Christmas special in, Unexpected or House of Mystery or The Witching Hour or something like that. There'd be a Christmas related cover with, some type of spooky Christmas story on it. So I think Christmas is the runner-up Halloween for monsters and ghosts and things.
Probably why Nightmare Before Christmas worked pretty well,
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And there's so many Christmas related. I mean, what's everybody's Christmas watch list for horror movies or for scary movies?
Oh, I've never thought about that.
I mean, I go with Black Christmas. I love that one, the original. I love movies that just take place over like Christmas Eve. That Black Christmas Evil is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I really, if you're talking about Scary Santas, that's the best Scary Santa movie. But there's so many other great ones out there, but those are two that I watch. And I always watch the Twilight Zone episode, The Changing of the Guard.
Oh, yeah.
Never
fails
to make me choke up every year. Like Donald Pleasance is so great in that episode.
This has nothing to do with Christmas, but I do like the sequel to Silent Night, Deadly Night, just because of the guys overacting in it. That's the Garbage Day movie.
Garbage Day, yeah.
Yeah, and and there's another one in that series I like because it takes place in a toy store, and there's some they must have gone to some closeout places because there's just a crazy amount of late 70s, early 80s toys on the walls in random fashion. I never really I agree that there's a Christmas horror, but I don't know if I have a traditional one that I watch every year. I don't think I do like I do with Halloween.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a traditional movie that's okay. It's time to watch this movie.
Yeah,
say things that are snowy, like Fearless Vampire Killer.
I was about to say that was going to be mine. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
I used to watch that with my uncle Valdemar, who introduced me to all of this stuff when I was tiny. But we watched that during the holidays, Fearless Vampire Killer, just because it's so snowy and you just feel cold watching it, even though it's not a Christmas movie, but it has that vibe to it.
The Thing for me is a New Year's movie. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
What? I
It's-
didn't catch that.
The Thing. John
Thing.
Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's such a great New Year's movie. I don't know why. I guess just because it's winter and, it's bleak as hell.
I think the closest thing would have for me would have to be the Mexican Santa Claus movie with the devil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, next to that and Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yeah.
I love those sincerely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
And when you're a little kid, like seeing the devil and Santa Claus together, that's terrifying.
I always make fun of that devil sound, like that. To this day, like 30 years, every time my dog just shows up in the room, I'll make that sound.
Legend of Hell House is another one that takes place on Christmas.
Does it really?
Yeah.
What?
It's with Rodney McDowell, right?
The Legend of Hell House takes place on Christmas.
I didn't know that. I mean, I've seen that.
It's a
but I
ghost
didn't-
story, so it's like
That's probably why I'm not a big ghost movie fan. So I think that might be why I don't gel with some of these.
Well, now that you mention that, I think of the Bloody Exorcism of Coffin Joe. That's a Christmas movie.
La, 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 la.
That takes place on Christmas with Christmas.
Well, there's Jack Frost too, the killer snowman. There's
Oh, I remember that one.
yeah.
There's two of those, isn't there? Isn't there like a
there's one
family comedy and then a
Then there's the horror.
yeah,
It kills
and
people with this carrot nose.
were they not like very closely released? Like
I think you're right.
I seem to recall there was confusion in the marketplace.
Michael
Some
Keaton
kids
was
would rent the
the
wrong movie from
family-related one.
Blockbuster.
yeah.
And what about the
Anyone
Rankin
like a
Bass
movie called
specials?
Rare Exports.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's I don't watch every Christmas, but if I were going to try to get something, seasonal in December, that's something I might reach for. Rare Exports. That's a pretty good Christmas horror movie. And it doesn't take. And then another movie that when I think of that, I think of a film called Troll Hunter, which isn't.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of that.
That's not a
yeah.
Christmas movie.
I've seen
but
that.
I kind of think of it almost like a Christmas movie.
That's a crazy movie. I like that one. Yeah.
But there's nothing better than watching like a horror movie by yourself with only the Christmas tree lights on, and it's like midnight, and the rest of the family is asleep, and you're just sitting there absorbing like Fearless Vampire Killers or some cool spooky wintry related horror movie.
Or even like
I usually get horror movies for Christmas, so that's probably why. Like when the Universal Blu-rays came out, that was a fun Christmas for me.
Yeah. And even, just Christmas carols, some of them just are really eerie, like Carol of the Bells and stuff, or the Sugar Plum Fairy is just kind of has a kind of a spooky, weird vibe to it.
Yeah.
There's ATM, the movie.
Yeah,
ATM.
there's it's kind of a more recent movie. I mean, I say recent, but it's probably honestly been out for almost a decade now. But it's a thriller. It's called ATM, and there's these three coworkers, and they're leaving a holiday Christmas party, and on the way home, they stop to use one of those ATMs where it's like a little building, and you have to use your card to get in, and they go in, and then they realize that there's like this killer outside, and it just chaotic.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Fantastic
it's
movie.
a great suspense, and it takes place on Christmas. So, Christmas.
And Gremlins.
Gremlins, yeah, that was
Gremlins.
Tales in the Crypt, the first
They had
British
big-
film.
Wasn't
Joan Collins versus that
Oh,
Santa.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Devil and Daniel Webster Christmas time?
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think it was.
Boy,
yeah.
that's
And
good.
I remember the sleigh belt, the music when it was playing in the movie, the theme.
Curse of the Cat People is a Christmas film.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Isn't that funny?
the Dead of Night that anthology film has a Christmas related story.
Yeah.
The stories as well.
Yeah.
There's a film
Yeah.
called Dead of Winter with Roddy McDowell. I don't know if it's Christmas, but it's Christmassy, the setting. It's one of those wintry kind of films.
And then there's a fantastic, we're talking thrillers, you have to see The Silent Partner with Elliot Gould.
Oh, that's Canadian film.
Mhm.
Yes. And
Yeah.
John Candy's in it. He's in
Yeah, I know.
a
That's
straight
how
role.
I know.
And
Yeah.
Christopher Plummer plays a Santa Claus that robs a bank. Elliot Gould goes to give him the money, and he keeps some of the money for himself. And then Christopher Plummer's watching the news that night, and he hears that $250,000 was stolen, and he's only got $200,000. So he knows the guy shorted him, and then they have this cat and mouse game between each other. But Christopher Plummer's dressed as Santa Claus the whole time, so that's his disguise.
It's amazing for me to watch because that is the late 70s downtown Toronto. Like it's just all filmed in the Eaton Center and stuff. So those are the kind of things that, I just sit there and I'm not even paying attention to the movie. I'm looking at the stores,
Yeah, that's great. There's also recently was the Krampus movie that came out. I went to the theater to see that one. Well, it was all right.
Is that the comedy?
No, it was a horror
comedy.
movie,
I guess it has
had
elements
humor
of
in
comedy. I
it.
don't think it's
some.
Tony Collette.
Yeah.
And David Koechner, right. And Adam Scott. Oh, wow. Yeah,
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, I was like, yeah, this is fun.
I'd say it's more quirky than a comedy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anything to do with the Yeti is wintry.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of old Yeti movies.
Shriek of the Mutilated. Is that a Christmas movie for you?
It's a Halloween movie.
It's a Halloween movie.
That's any day of the week movie.
That's an upsetting film.
In fact, that's running in the background off camera right now.
On the loop.
Yeah.
We're headed into the uncharted areas of upstate New York.
I've been there. Like Syracuse, Watertown. Where is this?
Was it Ginger Dead Man? That was another one I remember.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, that sounds very full moonish.
I do try to watch Rudolph the animated Rudolph because there's got the Bumble. So I mean that's not a horror movie, but it's got a Yeti in it. So I do try to watch that.
The Hammer one, the Abominable Snowman.
That's one too.
That's pretty good.
I usually use this time to TMC or AMC, and I'll TiVo every movie I don't own. I'll give this a rewatch and I think it takes me a long time to do that. So I think I'm still picking at those by December. So those kind of feel like related, but it's still just basically leftovers.
Yeah. It's in a way, I mean, sometimes I get nostalgic about the old days of flipping through a TV guide and circling all the things that were going to be on that week. But it's so nice to have, be able to just watch something instantaneously.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I want to watch that. Oh, there it is. Back then you did have to wait until it came around.
Yeah, I can remember a movie would come out once a year. You'd know it would be coming, but
Wizard
it would.
Of Oz
Well, I was thinking Assignment Terror was the.
Oh
one
yeah,
I
yeah.
kept okay, it's on at 2 a.m. Trying to figure this out. I miss those. It's so much better now, but there's something. I guess it was just kind of felt like there was an energy to that.
Yeah, and it's just a chance. The first time I saw any Paul Naschy werewolf movie I was a kid in the 70s, and it was Creature double feature out of Boston, which you guys, Amy and Andy and Rich know, and it must have been Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. I'm pretty sure that it was, but all of a sudden it was this crazy feral werewolf on TV on a Saturday afternoon. And I was like, what is this? And he was terrifying, but it's just random. It's just sort of a random thing that you see show up when you're flipping channels on your TV. And there was kind of a purity to that, to just discovering something that way. But I'm sure kids now have their YouTube algorithms are sending them down rabbit holes, and that's how they're finding stuff nowadays, probably.
That you say that, and it's kind of true, because my kids, they'll know something that I own that I'm familiar with. I'm like, how are you familiar with this? And they'll tell me how they got there. And it'll be Fallout, something in Fallout is based on the Omega Man, or, so it's interesting how the kids are perceptive enough to go, well, why is this way? And what inspired this?
Yeah. But, I that reminded me of something with regard to when we were talking about the toys and why those rack toys have such an appeal, just jumping back to that, if that's okay. But, Brian mentioned the style guiding now, and Grace, you say this all the time in your videos, like things are style guided to death, and it's true. I think that's one of the reasons I was okay with letting go of like the Jada figures, for example, because you look at that packaging, and Andy and Amy said it too. The packaging back in the day, there was something. It was just, you knew there was an artist that made that, and it didn't look perfect, like it was printed on a computer, and there wasn't like all this text out the wazoo on the back where it's like every detail, so they have to cover all their bases legally. Yeah. And it's just, for me, that kind of sucks a lot of the fun out of it. Those toys back in the day, it just looked, somebody sculpted that by hand, and there was, it wasn't perfect and 3D printed to look exactly right. It was quirky and weird, and I don't know. There's an appeal to that, and I don't know if it's nostalgia or if it's just, I don't know. There's the art, an appreciation of that artistic style versus something that's like absolutely 100% perfect. I love the NECA figures that they're doing now too. I pre-ordered the Hammer ones that they're doing, the Christopher Lee Dracula, and I will order the Van Helsing too. But
they're doing Van Helsing? I didn't know.
Yeah, they are. They're doing Peter Cushing Van Helsing. Yeah.
For me, I think that a rack toy is often a bit like a carnival dark ride. Mm-hmm. The artwork on the outside, it's a ripoff. What you're getting is not great. So what they do is they go crazy with the artwork and promise you the moon, but you're getting the minute, usually you're getting something that A is going to break in a day, or two, once you take it off that card, it has no relation to what it was sold under. And I think it's just that kind of ballyhoo that's so attractive, that swagger to it, and it kind of changed when you look at the 80s and they just start using like photos from the show. It's not quite the same level of camp that the 70s stuff was, where they were just drawing these crude things. The Enterprise wasn't totally right, or Mr. Captain Kirk has a blue shirt on the card. It's just like there was just something I don't know, homemade about it, and that's been taken out of the wash.
Well, the Remcos felt like the last. I mean, the 9-inch Remcos with the paintings. Those would be gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
painting. Yeah. But that felt like the last. Like, I don't know. I mean, as the 80s went on, it started to get more like using photos and things like that. But there was still a lot of great painted artwork on
even the 80s. I don't like the Imperial monsters, but some of the art on those are kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not stock art. It's something they did. But I can't bear the figures. But I remember thinking, well, at least this isn't like a cookie cutter card. They tried to do something fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
Those the Imperials, that might be the last gasp of what we're talking about. Can you think of anything after that?
No, I think that's it.
I would say anything by Sun Gold, like non-licensed stuff, still.
Yeah, it's
lurid.
Then you got to get away from the Universal monsters to.
Yeah. But I mean, like there was lots of lurid horror toys to the mid '90s, but
Amigos del Terror comes to mind.
Yeah, well, those are just knockoff Imperials. But I was thinking like Sun Gold monsters, or things like Spook Chasers and all those horror related toys that are very, very expensive now.
It's that looseness too with the the 60s and 70s stuff. It's the fact that it wasn't so stylized and exact. If you buy a NECA figure today, every single NECA figure is going to pretty much look identical. You take a look at the AHIs, and it's like 90 Frankensteins, and all 90 of them are going to be different in some way. Yeah. And that's what I love most about them, is it gives them their own little individuality, their own identity, and the packaging just matches that perfectly, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what this says about me, but I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago, I bought the Sideshow 12-inch Boris Karloff Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I put it in my office, and I was like, this is gorgeous. It looks just like him. I sold it within like 6 months. It just, I don't know. It didn't have any, I couldn't understand why I was getting rid of it.
It's just because of the green jacket.
Oh no! You know what? That actually may have been kind of appealing to me because it was inaccurate. I don't know. There's just something about it that I found. I didn't love it. I liked it. I admired it, but I didn't love it, and I didn't need it. And I've never thought of it since, other than now. But yeah, that's the same way I feel about hot toys or stuff like that. It just nothing's going to pull me into that world.
I want to say, you remind me of something. I sent Ray the video. There's this guy on YouTube, and you were talking about like there was not as much Halloween stuff on YouTube this year, but there is a guy, young guy, Daniel. He does this channel, the Cobwebs channel. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Yeah, he does like movie reviews. He does like top 10 vampire movies or top 10 Hammer movies or things like that. And he's really enthusiastic. He decorates his set with his Blu-ray collection in the background, but he's a young guy. And when he was a kid, he played with the 12-inch sideshow figures, and he pulled them out, and they were all beat up because he's like, "Oh, these were my monster toys when I was a kid," and he was holding them up, and they were the 12-inch sideshow figures, which I thought was really cool because it shows some kids were buying those and playing with them.
Well,
yeah, my kids. I bought my kids. They were.
Yes, yeah.
I bought my kids the Toy Island ones.
Oh yeah,
they were new when my kids were like 5 and 3, and I just I'm a monster kid, and this is like, here is a beautiful set of toys. I don't care if you wreck. They were pretty durable, but I was really ticked off when people thought those were crap because I was like, they are utility grade monster figures for kids, and they're wonderful. I wish I still had. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, I remember reviewing those on my show. All of the likenesses look like they were modeled off the same guy.
Yeah. They are definite. There's no Karloff. There's no. Yeah, I thought the mummy kind of looked like Tom Tyler, but
It's like they got Ed from in the company office. Like, hey, we need to model these monsters. Come over here, Ed. They just made him Frankenstein, made him Dracula, made him.
See, I found an appeal in that, but I understand what you're saying. My kids loved them, and I did love the build of Frankenstein they came with.
Oh yeah, who also looks like Ed?
Yeah, no, Glenn Strange's stand-in.
Ed Strange.
Yeah.
By the way, about Christmas, I thought of another Christmas movie, Curse of the Werewolf.
Oh,
one of my favorite. Hammer. Everyone hates that movie.
No.
Amy and Andy, was it your channel that was asking people their favorite Hammer movie? Or
yeah,
you were doing that, okay? And no one liked Curse.
No one said Curse.
We were so surprised. Yeah. There was pretty much everybody was just saying
Brides of Dracula.
Brides of Dracula, Horror of Dracula.
So I think Curse of the Werewolf is my favorite Hammer film.
Yeah. I love the artwork that Mark Maddox did for the cover of this Blu-ray.
The funny thing is, we didn't even give ours in the thing.
Yeah.
What is yours? Give it now.
Oh, yeah. What was
that?
Brides of Dracula.
City of the Dead.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
City of the Dead, is that a Hammer film?
Yeah.
Well, the Horror Hotel and City of the Dead.
Horror Hotel. It's a different title for it. Yeah.
In UK it was City of the Dead. Over here is Horror.
But that's a great movie with Christopher Lee and Miss Jessel.
Hammer didn't make that.
Horror Hotel.
I thought it was Hammer.
Horror Hotel.
It's a public domain. I hosted it years ago.
That's such a great movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great movie. I'm curious.
Now that I think of it,
I almost wanted to say when you guys asked me that one of the On the Buses movies, just to kind of throw the algorithm off.
Well, we didn't even a couple times we didn't specify Hammer, like horror movies, and people were giving us other Hammer movies. We're like, really should have been more specific.
Yeah.
The Curse of the Werewolf figure is never going to happen. I was listening to your show, Brian, Pod Stallions, and I remember you said something about because Mego never made the Oliver Reed werewolf, and you said that NECA's probably going to run into the same issue. So what is the issue?
I think it's just Oliver Reed's estate. Now, at one point, my friend who's in the industry, like he works for He works a lot with Guillermo del Toro. And he is friends with somebody who knows the Reed family really well. Somebody, I think, who worked on Gladiator and got to know the Reed family pretty well. And that person's a sculptor as well. And that person did say to my friend, well, I can see what I could do about that. So, I think there's a possibility of it happening, but I think the negotiations haven't happened.
I see.
I don't know much about the Hammer license. I don't know much about how it works. I was told by somebody at Amigo that they weren't given a whole heck of a lot to work with in terms of materials, and that's why some of the cards, like I didn't find that Migo ever really found a theme with those cards. They were going one place and then they went another with it. And it turns out it was because they really didn't have enough materials to figure something out. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess as the years go on, we'll see how this Hammer thing goes on. But I think that Migo did every character they thought, or that they were allowed to do. I mean, they had a problem with the Gorgon because the Hammer literally thought they had that license and they didn't. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes down in the future, what they add, what they can add. I mean, I'm really kind of satisfied with I would love a Curse of the Werewolf. I did keep my distinctive dummies custom of him, but I thought Migo probably covered a lot of the bases, but I hope NECA expands the universe a little bit for people.
Well, Curse of the Werewolf, I think, would have to be a Universal co-license. I know Hammer doesn't own that outright.
Yeah, you're probably right there. Yeah. I know some of the films are owned by Warner. I know some of the films are owned by Universal, and I'm not sure how the ins and outs of that work, to be honest with you.
Well, Trick or Treat Studios made a Curse of the Werewolf mask.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is doable, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and though it's not a likeness, there was that rubber ducky. I mean, that's not a Reed likeness.
Oh no, I think that's like a Funko Pop. I think you could get away with that sort of thing.
And I know Hammer, before the Trick or Treat license, they made their own set of masks, including a Curse of the Werewolf. That was some years before Trick or Treat. But that was really for the English market. I don't think they really marketed those internationally. I remember trying to order those and the shipping was ridiculous, so I didn't bother. And I don't think they're available anymore. Well, I mean, let's see what NECA does. They seem to be masters of licensing. But even
they do have the Hammer and the Universal license, so.
What?
Yeah.
They do have both Hammer and Universal.
And they have a lot of clout. They have a lot of clout, so they can get a lot of things done.
They have a lot of money, too.
Yeah, that was implied with clout.
Yeah. We don't want that likeness, so how about some more money? Still nice to ask, well, here's some more money.
Another fantastic Hammer Christmas movie, by the way, is from the days of Hammer Noir, where there's a movie called Cash on Demand, and it was in that Hammer box set that came out from, I think it was Mill Creek a while ago. As Peter Cushing as a bank manager on Christmas Eve being robbed, and he's kind of like a Scrooge type figure. It's kind of Hammer's version almost of a Christmas Carol to a certain degree. And it's a really underrated, great movie. And I just love Peter Cushing. He's one of my all-time favorite actors.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down the best Van Helsing there ever was.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And it's a fantastic movie. That's an underdog if you're looking for something interesting to watch around Christmas time.
I think you can debate the best Dracula, but the best Van Helsing, it's Peter Cushing, hands down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
No, there's some guy who's like Anthony Hopkins all the way. There always will be that guy.
No.
There's always that guy.
No,
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, that's the one that they'll say.
Oh, no.
Oh, that was. Oh man, was I excited about that until I wasn't.
They definitely dropped the ball on that one.
I think it was when I saw the toys. I was like, oh.
Well, let's hold that thought. Let's have one We might get back to Hugh in a second. In that whole universe. So, do you guys have any memories of monster related gifts that you got for Christmas? On Christmas Day, did you ever go, the Christmas tree, unwrap your gifts, and there's a monster Holy Grail? Do you have any memories like that? Anybody?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to, because of the fact of how I got into monsters, I asked for older stuff. So fortunately, once I realized the situation with Santa Claus and him,
The situation.
I don't know.
From the Jersey Shore.
I don't know what kind of age demographic you have here. I don't want to spoil anything for the little ones, but
He comes to all
the situation with Santa. Once I figured out that Santa's situation, I would ask for older stuff, and my dad would, track down some older toys. So I can remember getting a couple of the 3 3/4 inch Remco, the glow ones.
Wow.
Be fascinated by those because they glow in the dark. I love anything that glows in the dark. So I thought those were like the coolest things ever. And I had my cousins hand me down Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, the Imperial ship that talks when you press the button. It has like all the different. You can put all the little stormtroopers in it, and you press.
Oh
the button.
Oh yeah, I just actually sold one of those.
Yeah, I had that ship, and I put the monsters in that, and I made their like little monster ship. Would play with this like crazy. I thought it was the best toy ever.
Was that ship a catalog exclusive? I don't remember ever seeing it in the store.
It wasn't, but it wasn't actually featured in Star Wars until recently. It was made up by Kenner, I believe.
Yeah, but back in the day, I knew it was in a Christmas catalog, but I don't remember ever seeing it in a store on a store shelf.
I saw it at store shelves. Yeah. I was fascinated by it because I was like, where was this? What are the, like, it was an interesting idea.
Well, same with the radio-controlled Jawa Sandcrawler. I don't remember seeing that on a store shelf either.
I do, because my friend got it for his 10th birthday, and I just wanted to hit him over the head and take it. I really wanted
that.
it.
I got for Christmas one year. If we're talking about Christmas gifts, I did get the remote control Jawa Sandcrawler. I think the coolest thing about Star Wars for me as a kid was the aliens, because they were
the monsters.
Hammerhead, Walrus Man, Snaggletooth. Like, I didn't really care about Luke and
Tusken Raider was like the coolest.
But I wanted all the
figure.
Monster characters, and I had the same thing, the troop transport that Andy had, and that was great because it had the voice chip where you could hear actual voices from the movie, supposedly. But the big thing I got one year was Gore from Super Joe, and the remote control. What was his name? Taron. I got him. Well, I got them 1 year. They did, yeah.
Okay, because I've heard. Yeah, I've heard that's rare.
And that Taron lasted forever. That was like one of the toys that was probably the last thing my mom ever threw out, because every time I go to visit, that was still somewhere in the house. And I wish she didn't throw it away now at this point. And then I remember the Mission to Gamma 6 playset for Star Trek that I got.
With the grabber glove.
Yeah, and that was cool because I would always wear that and be like, I have leprosy, and I'd like wear the glove. I'd use it as a
I would do that with like the honeycomb cereal that had the gloves on the box.
Yeah, and the glove was supposed to be the monster, but you could copy as like a sort of, if you were trying to be a monster, putting on your makeup and stuff.
Which is what every kid did, ripped it right out of the set.
Yeah,
it's hard to get back in there, by the way.
Yeah,
is it
I can imagine
like a flimsy plastic?
No, it's a fabric glove, kind of like Migo's jumpsuit material, and it has a scaly reptile pattern on it. And it's about this big now, but it's supposed to be. They did it again with the Sectars. I think it was ripped off with the Masters of the Universe, the Fright Zone as well. Believe it or not, it was invented by Eddie Goldfarb, who created like the chattering teeth and stompers. He's still alive, or last time I checked anyways. He's just a historic toy inventor, and he didn't invent a lot for Mego, but he did do the Gamma 6 playset.
Yeah, I mean, the set itself looked like a monster. It was a big, it
was Vol,
Godzilla looking thing, and it was I loved it. You had the little rubber aliens with it too. It was fantastic.
I love that set. That's like, the perfect analogy for toys I like. It's based on Star Trek. looks nothing like what it was on Star Trek, but, and it's been made fun.
Well, and that's the thing too. As a kid, I would, we didn't have the knowledge we have now, so I'd always be like, "Where is this episode of Star Trek where this set appears and these aliens show up?" And I mean, I remember being so disappointed when I finally saw the Keeper on Star Trek.
Oh yeah, he's a puppet.
But same with the Mugato. Like I did love the Mugato when he showed up on Star Trek, but Migo's Mugato was like, I just loved the design of that. It was amazing.
I love that in the script it was Gumato, but DeForest Kelley called it Mugatu, and it stuck.
It works better.
I think so.
Well, anyone else get any monster stuff for Christmas?
Closest thing I ever got was my mom didn't like monsters. It was always something
My parents didn't like monsters.
Yeah, my mom. I remember my mom was going to buy me Clash of the Titans figures, and she brought me home a Perseus, and she's like, "The other guys look like hell. I'm not buying those." That was my childhood, but I got a bionic Bigfoot for Christmas.
Well, that's cool.
And I really wanted it, and it's probably the best monster gift I got as a kid that I can think of. But even then, the Bigfoot was kind of a disappointing figure when you look at the previous figures I got from the $6 Million Man line, which had all these bells and whistles and interesting features, and Bigfoot's chest opened. I think that was it, right?
Yeah, he had no points of articulation, really.
He was kind of...
he's in the room. You're talking right in front of him.
I got one here, too.
He's standing there saying, "Guys, I'm right here."
I know. I'm
back there in the corner somewhere.
I had to have him again, but it wouldn't be like, getting the Shogun Godzilla, which was on my list every year, but I didn't actually end up getting him. I think I wanted him. I wanted Gregory.
Oh yeah.
And probably I would have loved a Terran, but there's no way I was getting one of those.
I remember getting a Freddy Krueger glove and thinking that was the coolest thing I ever got for Christmas. It was in the stocking. I got it was the cheapest little thing.
I remember those. Yeah, I had one of those.
That little really cheap one with the plastic, obviously. Yeah. In case my brother around and the cat around. And
is that the one that came on a card?
Came on, yeah. It was like so flimsy, and it didn't last very long, but man, it was fun. It was fun for a while.
I bought one of those in high school just to be annoying.
Did you have one?
No, I did not have a Freddy glove. Much like very common theme where moms were very reluctant to buy monster toys. My mom's really into sci-fi and was all about watching movies, but she was like, no, I will, even to this day, refuses to buy any horror stuff, monster stuff, anything like that for Christmas. She's like, that's Halloween stuff. It stays there. But my dad was great because they were divorced like most of my life. So when I'd go to my dad's for Christmas, he was famous for going to like Suncoast Video and whatever VHS were like $10 and like horror. He would just pick them. Wow. He could figure out how to wrap them real easily. So that helped. Like, some Rubik's Cube of wrapping, and he would just pick up like a bunch of horror VHS, and that was a big part of my Christmas every year. So that would be my monster Christmas relation. One time I got this, I saw a photo recently of me from Christmas morning at my dad's house one year, and there's this game. It was like, it had bats, because I've always loved bats, and there's like, I think you gotta like hang the bats upside down from like a little archway, and I can't remember what it's called.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was a cute
It's got to have Belfry in there.
That's the Belfry game, but it doesn't sound like what you're talking about, though. I never had that game, so I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up. It might be Bats in the Belfry, but I don't know. Like, it would really have to do with when it came out.
You didn't get "I Want to Bite Your Finger"?
I remember that.
I'm looking for one of those actively.
That commercial used to freak me out because I was like, does it really make blood come out? When you put your fingers in
a little like...
Yeah. My mom...
We had the Bats in the Belfry, but that was not it.
My mom was the same way, which is funny because she likes spooky stuff. She likes ghost movies and she liked Dark Shadows and vampires and stuff. But she wouldn't buy me monster stuff when I would ask for it. I remember these kids that lived upstairs, Corey and Shay, and they had the Mego Mad Monsters, which I wanted. I never got those. And then I remember when the Remco monsters came out, the 9-inch ones, I remember begging for the Remco Dracula, and she's like, "Ai, ça t'en fait." In Portuguese means, "Oh, that's so ugly." It t'en fait, it me fait. So I never got that stuff. I got a couple of monster-ish things. I did get one Christmas. I got Maskatron.
I love
$6 million man, because I remember the little mask. I was really young, but I remember playing with his little mask. And I also got this is not my childhood one, but this is a toy that I loved when I was a kid. And I used to think it was King Kong. I used the night.
I have one behind me.
Oh, do you? Yeah, Ray told me it was not King. It's not King Kong, but I used to love playing.
It's called the Congo Gorilla.
What is it?
The Congo Gorilla.
Congo Gorilla. From
Wasn't he also called the Hong Kong Gorilla?
I've got a counter box that says Hong Kong Gorilla.
Yeah.
And if it's that design, then it's a smaller one.
Okay.
I used to love this thing when I was a kid. But
That's Imperial.
That's awesome. Who didn't
Congo
love gorillas?
Gorilla? And I've got a tagged one. And I had one as a kid. I loved it as a kid. Of course, it was always Bigfoot when I was a kid.
It was King Kong for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had my King Kong. My official King Kong as a kid was the plush Mego one.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
That was my King Kong. So if he was,
this is mine from my childhood. He's
Oh,
like a big Jim gorilla
yay.
or something like that.
Oh, that dude.
I
Yeah.
love that.
And that one is mine from when I was a kid. It's so
I remember that. Yeah, I didn't have that
My
one.
gorilla is the it's in this case, or I take it out, but it's the Fisher Price Safari Gorilla. I find that the Adventure People one, I just find that one of the most perfect gorilla figures ever made.
I love the Adventure People. I had the one with the dolphin. Was it the Sea Explorer? I think it was. I had the little rubber dolphin. Yeah,
that's the only set I have boxed is that one.
Oh, I think I saw your video on that. I was so excited. I used to take that to the beach and put it in the water and stuff, and have the dolphin swim around.
I had a ton of Adventure People because they were the civilians. I mean, you had King Kong
victims.
Good as he if you don't have the little people. So
poor people.
The stuffed one was just the right size. To, scale to Adventure People. And you had the Shogun Godzilla and everything. You needed those Adventure People or Jaws. Heavy rubber shark.
You got like your Land of the Lost cast out of them. You just needed to add some dinosaurs.
Poor Jaws gets hungry too.
Irwin Allen extras.
Oh yeah, they all ended up in the rubber shark's mouths.
Or the Jaws game. I had the Jaws
I had
game,
that too, where you had to pick.
Was that the most
things out with the
boring game that you grew bored after that about?
Oh man, we got it, and we got it for the family game night, and we played it, and everyone's like, it was all the ballyhoo of getting it, and then it's like, oh yeah, this game sucks.
I think that game and Operation gave me anxiety because it's like, no, don't. It's gonna.
Well, so the Jaws game, I only played it a few times, and it was a toy after that.
Yeah, me too. It was like you could fit a whole Mego in there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we were all. It's the 70s, so it was shark obsession, right?
Yeah.
The best monster game I got was probably the slime monster game, where you actually had the slime monster, and it had the little figures who were like, they were screaming like this, and they went around the board, and if the slime monster dripped the slime onto them, you were out. So it was.
I love the design of the slime monster, but I never played that game.
Yeah, I had slime as a kid. I never had the
slime
game
monster, but it was a great game.
I had the slime green and the slime worms.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think I had slime eyes. I think I grew out of slime by then, but I had the original green slime. I think I had a couple of cans of that, and then I had the worms. I loved the worms.
Yeah, that's got to be a real tactile thing, eh?
Yeah, I never had the game though.
I always wanted the Godzilla game, the Mattel one. I still don't own a copy of that. Yeah.
I'd love to get the 60s monster games, but those will go for crazy money.
Oh, I know.
The mystery games,
I don't have any of those. Those are amazing.
I don't even think I've ever had an attempt to get one of those at any sort of.
No, I've never tried to get one.
And there are quite a few of them. There's several.
The best old game I have is the Outer Limits game.
I used to have a copy of the Outer Limits game.
That is a
traded
great
it.
game.
Yeah.
It has such great artwork on it, and it's actually kind of fun to play. I would play it with my daughter when she was little, and we enjoyed it. It's pretty simple, but it goes. Most games are just like Candyland, right?
Oh yeah, the Monster Squad game was painful.
Oh, I love the Monster Squad. I have it up there. The Monster Squad.
Yeah.
I used to love Monster Squad too.
I love Monster Squad, but that game is not a banger.
Yeah. I got the Barnabas Collins game back there.
I remember that. It's got the fangs.
I have the fangs. I do have the fangs. Yeah.
That's what's always missing, right? Penny is the fangs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got the other one on over your other shoulder. The sort of
Dark Shadows one. Yeah, too.
That one. It has some great.
That one's that's the '68 Whitman Dark Shadows. Oh, nice.
Oh,
Wow.
We went and found it.
Oh, cool. That's so awesome. Wow, that's
we have
great.
any of the other ones handy. We have like a billion bins around, and we're like, wait a minute, I think that one's over there.
That's so cool that you have it.
Do you have them all?
We have Creature, Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman.
Wow, that's great.
having a creature, that's impressive. So is that shrink wrap original?
There it is. Yeah.
Well, we just put it in because it's not in the greatest condition, so we just put kind of.
Well, even so, that's quite a piece, though.
Yeah,
That's cool too.
The creature anything is the most hardest thing to find at that point.
Creature fanatics.
Nice.
The funny thing is the game board inside is beautiful, but the box itself is a little worse for wear. But
Yeah, like
just
anyone
having-
looks at the back.
Still looks great.
I know the back's a little like
Yeah,
there's
but
always
I
like
mean,
random key parts.
Yeah, that's
But
the kind of
actually-
thing. I mean, I'm a mitten box kind of guy, and I know some people are just sticklers for that, but some stuff is just so rare that,
Oh yeah.
like that, what you're holding in your hand.
Yeah, he's just handing me crazy stuff. We picked out a good bin, I guess, but it's a weird little show and tell moment. But where's the painting? I don't know. Everything's everywhere. But and then
And I actually only pulled that out because when we were talking about Christmas toys and stuff that we got for Christmas, there was a picture I had of myself when I was a little kid. And we used to get together, Italian families, everybody would exchange gifts, and different family members, people you weren't even related to, would just bring you random gifts. And I had a picture of me from Christmas, and I was holding this thing and it said scary on it. And for years and years and years, I looked for this thing and never came across it, couldn't find a picture. And I was like, what is that? And then one day, just a couple years ago,
we were at the Xenia Great Ohio Toy Show.
and I saw it, and I knew exactly that was the thing from the picture from when I was like 3. And it was this. It's this thing called a scary.
Oh, wow.
Wow, I love the art.
Yeah.
It's got this like almost Jack Davis kind of style artwork on it.
That's awesome.
I have never seen another one. I've Googled it. It doesn't come up. And it doesn't even say who made it.
What, is there a date on it?
I've never seen that before.
1979 Frank Daniel.
Frank Daniel.
But it says Art Award in the corner, but that's all it says. It doesn't say like who, what company made it or where it came from the Art Award Company in North Bergen, New Jersey. But I don't know. It was the strangest thing. And I had this picture and it took me my whole life to come across.
Well, maybe the
Amazing,
distribution
you found
didn't
it.
go very far beyond New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's like a,
Somebody probably got it at like Ocean State Job Lot.
that's what I'm thinking. I think it just came from like one of those like job type stores and
One and done.
That's cool.
weird, rare monster thing. But it took me my whole life to track this thing down.
You know
Isn't
what
that
I've been
great
trying?
that you found it again? That's
I've been trying to find something that I remember from when I was a kid too. It was in the 70s and it was around Halloween, and there was such a cheap little thing, but they had these candy tubes. It was like a tube, a straw almost, with candy inside. And on the top, there were monsters. They had like a witch and a Dracula, and I think they had a Wolfman.
Did they have a guy like this?
No, it wasn't like that.
Oh, okay.
It was something else.
This is a candy tube head.
It was it flips. They flipped over. They had this function, this thing that you would do that would make the monster kind of do like a little somersault, like an acrobatic thing. It would flip over like on top of the little straw thing. And I've never seen even a picture of that. I've looked on the internet for years. I've never found a picture of that. If anybody's listening and knows what I'm talking about, let me know.
I know the type of toy you're talking about, but the ones I remember more like what Brian showed with the heads, like the Frankenstein head.
No, this was like something.
I've got a King Kong, kind of like what Brian has, but it's not the same sculpt.
Yeah.
I think the one I have might have been a Universal theme park item, I think.
Yeah, this thing had like the arms were like on the side. They were like this flat plastic, and then the little monster was in the middle, and you would do something to it, and it would go, and it would like flip over on the top of the straw thing.
Yeah, I do remember those kind of like push puppets, like corner push puppet kind of things.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was, everybody was in different areas, but something about the New England area, we had so many like stores that carried over like this, whatever the scary paint set is from before my time. But what I think happened is because we had these places like Job Lot, Building 19.
Building 19.
Yeah.
There was Kidstown in Attleboro, Massachusetts that had closeout stuff from years and years ago. Child World would keep stuff on the shelves.
Yep.
When Child World went under, a friend of mine drove all through the country and was picking up toys from like 15 years early.
Wow, I miss Child World. Yeah.
We had this. So I think what it was is we, for whatever reason, Mark Stevens was another place. We had these great places where you could find just strange toys that didn't sell originally, and they'd send them to those places like a Building 19, and they would just sit there for eternity until someone wanted one. 50 cents.
Yeah, they're just like wholesale them out to all these weird places. Yeah.
I mean, I would
Child World.
I would see so many.
Me too.
I can remember going to Building 19 and seeing a Child World shopping cart and convincing a friend of mine saying, "Hey, you know what? We gotta take this shopping cart. I gotta have this. I have to take this home." This is after Child World went out of business, and I convinced a friend of mine to
Away driver.
boost the Child World shopping cart.
Do you still
Then you
have
gotta
it?
be like, what am I gonna do
with this? But I didn't care. I owned a Child World shopping cart.
That's amazing.
You can push your cardboard boxes around in it when it all goes under.
That reminds me when Children's Palace went out of business in the early 90s. That was just collector's paradise.
It's the same company, I think.
Yeah.
I think Children's Palace and Child World are
Yes,
the same company.
same company, two different entities. They're two
We were
different
lucky,
names.
I think, in that respect, to be able to experience older toys that way.
Mm-hmm.
I got Megos. I remember getting Spider-Man and Hulk Mego. These were 10, 15 years old at that point, and I got them for 49 cents. Your parents would never say no at Building 19. It was great.
Yeah.
For a quarter.
It was thanks to the Children's Palace that I got like the Bugman of Insecta and Thriller figures and the Nightmare Warriors and several other sets that I own today that I bought for like, a buck a piece or something, thanks to that big epic clearance, with Children's Palace going out of business. Just as you say, they all had these 10, 15-year-old toys on the shelves, which were already collectible even then.
Yeah.
And they were there for $1.
Yeah.
So just stock up.
Yeah.
All the totes and Cairo swordsmans you could ever want.
I had my share of those too.
It was those.
Well, I had Raiders toys from Children's Palace, but I also went to a doll store around the same time. A doll show, not doll store. It was just dolls, like girls' dolls.
Yeah.
And one lady had the complete Kenner Raiders of the Lost Ark, mitten card, everything as a set for $99. And it was sitting there. No one wanted that for $99. And I said, "Oh, I'll buy it." So that's how I got a complete Kenner Raiders. Don't have it anymore, but I got a complete set. Plus I had the Children's Palace multiples of all those peg warmers on top of that. So I had, for a little while, I was swimming in the Kenner Indiana Jones stuff, but not now. I don't have it now. Now about Christmas, I think, I know this was a Christmas gift for me, Christmas 79. And you guys have heard the story. I know I got an Azrak Canway creature for Christmas. I think it was this one, but I had 2 creatures. So if it wasn't, so I don't know if this is the one I got for Christmas or not. And this is my childhood Bigfoot. I think he was a Christmas gift. He might have been birthday, but he was either birthday or Christmas. So I've got 3 childhood gifts sitting right here. And this alien was a particular I guess, a dramatic Christmas gift, because you were talking about your parents' attitudes towards us a while ago. Like my parents went through they were never approving of my love of monsters, but there was a point in the late 70s where there was a school teachers conference where they called my parents in with my teacher and the principal. This, we've got a problem with Raymond, and they showed like these pictures I've been drawing of monsters, and they just thought that was like, satanic. Like that was hard. This was. They really thought I needed like psychological counseling or something, or an exorcism or whatever. So my parents, that I think that shook them up. Like back then, if your teachers or your principal told your parents we have a problem, it was a big deal. It was a problem. I don't know how it is now, but I don't think it's the same way now.
It's not.
So they came home and they took all my monster drawings, and I even had some paintings and things, and they threw it all away.
Oh.
They just, any monster thing that wasn't nailed down got thrown away because I thought they were doing what they were supposed to do. And that was right around the time, like maybe a year before this came out, but they were still in that mode of trying to exorcise the monsters out of me. And I wanted this alien, naturally. And I remember my dad sitting on a couch, and my brother, he was looking at a Christmas catalog, and my brother said, "Oh, Raymond wants that." and my dad was like, "Well, I've got news for him. He is not going to get that horrible thing."
Oh.
So, and I had a grandmother.
You went over his head.
Anytime my parents said no, she said yes. So she took pride in kind of going around my parents' wishes were. So she got me this alien for Christmas, and I do have a picture. If I can dig it up, maybe I'll stick it on the screen here. But I have a picture that Christmas with that very distinct shape box gift wrapped, and you can tell I'm kind of like, I know what's in there.
Yeah.
Later, I got my alien. So, and I was very close to this little guy. I don't know how many other kids would do this, but I would like tuck him into bed like he was a doll, like a dolly. So he had this weird head, so he had to be on his side, and I put him on the pillow like that. And I put the quilt over him, like nighty night. So, I don't know many other kids who treated their alien like that.
You were spooning with the xenomorph.
I love it.
That's great.
Well, let's talk about one more thing. We talked about Hugh Jackman a minute ago. This is kind of related. So what do you guys think of this new Universal Studios monster theme park? What is it called? Dark World or something?
I think they're using Dark Universe again.
Dark Universe.
Yeah. So they're making a big deal with this theme park. Is it in Florida?
Orlando.
I think it is. Yeah.
Orlando. Okay. I've never been to Florida. So any thoughts on that? That's like a big thing coming. When is it going to open? Is there a date?
May, I think I heard. I heard May 2025. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good in the way that it might bring more attention to the classic stuff. Anything that brings attention to the classic monsters, I'm for. But I have mixed feelings about it. Some of the designs leave something to be desired, in my opinion. Like I don't know, some of them just they're trying to go for something a little more modern, I guess, that's more appealing, I guess, to today's younger people. I don't know, but it's some like Dracula, for example. Wasn't really feeling the design there, but I mean, it looks cool. I mean, they have a whole storyline behind it. I'll probably go once to see what it's like. I want to experience it once just to see what it's like, and then form an opinion after that. But
you get to Florida very often?
My parents go down there. They're retired, so in the winter they go down there. They have a place down there. They're Portuguese snowbirds, so I go and stay with them for a couple of weeks because I have a break between semesters. So I go down there and hang out with them for a little while. So I may they're a little further south. So but I can just grab the train and head to Orlando, and I think I might end up doing that.
It seems to me that the aesthetic for this thing is sort of Van Helsing-ish.
Yes.
Harkens back to that movie.
Yes.
It's very steampunky.
Yes.
Like it seems to be
Yeah, I don't-
updating
yeah.
it, and I have no problem with updating things. Like I get it, but I'd rather see more of a bit of the tradition. Like I didn't like their design for Frankenstein.
Yeah, with the shirt off.
Yeah, and why not keep the creature the creature? It's iconic. There's nothing you really need to change about the creature from the Black Lagoon. I mean, I can understand why they want to update some of the others, but I'd rather have them keep it more of that 30s monster aesthetic than
I agree.
Than sort
Yeah.
of kind of I don't know what they're going for exactly. Like I guess steampunk is the best way I can describe it, but
I don't know if they know what they're going for.
What did you say?
I don't know if they know what they're going for.
Yeah, I mean,
I think there's some. It seems like there's some goodwill behind it, so I want to be positive about it. But I was disappointed in these designs that they weren't leaning more towards the classical side.
Yeah.
I feel like it's as if Disney always presented Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and these characters as some weird, whacked out design instead of the original designs. Disney, I could say a lot of negative things about Disney, but at least they know with their branding, they know how to preserve these iconic characters that's their crown jewels,
right?
And keep them intact over the years. And to some degree, Warner Brothers does that with Looney Tunes, and DC and Marvel. They're pretty good with at least the designs of these characters, are preserving, even if they're like the superheroes, even if they don't stay the same design in the current comics. The original designs do seem to be venerated, and they do seem to keep coming up in merchandising and other stuff. So they don't bury the original designs. And the MCU designs are, from most of these heroes, are inspired by the 60s, 70s designs for most of those characters. So I like how these studios, these companies tend to more or less preserve. They know the brands that they have, and they preserve them. But Universal, even going back, to the 80s or whatever, they're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel and fix what isn't broken, and they never understand what they've got. They have something that could be so valuable. They should hold it in the same regard that Disney holds Mickey Mouse or DC holds Superman, but they don't. They're always feeling like those original characters just aren't good enough, and they have to keep changing them and updating them. And the updates are never as good as the originals. And the fandom, which includes young people, I think we have some here. The fandom, even with the young people, goes back to those original designs and those original monsters. Those are the things people like. Universal they can't get that. Any thoughts?
I want to love it, and I'm so determined for this to just prove me wrong with my. I don't want to be negative about it. I want it to be a positive thing. I want it to bring monsters to younger generations, and let people know that these monsters are still around. But it's like, you literally are the license, and you have the ability to do the most incredible thing that could ever happen nowadays anyway for monsters, and you're not doing it. So it's frustrating, but then it's like they'll do things that are like, well, there's going to be a Wolfman Dark Ride, and of course I'm like, well, that's awesome, but yeah. How's that going to actually be executed is what's terrifying to me. Because it could.
We all saw that Wolfman picture. I mean,
that Wolfman publicity stunt that angered every monster kid on the internet. But it's like, then they're saying, well, it's not technically. We don't know that that's the Wolfman, but I don't know.
That felt real clickbaity to me. I'm sorry. I just was like, everybody slow down.
I have no hopes for that Blumhouse Wolfman picture either way, no matter how well they design the Wolfman. I haven't been happy with my personal piece. I haven't been happy with any of the movies that Blumhouse has done. I mean,
I like The Invisible Man, but that was all based on Elizabeth Moss' performance, really.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
No, it's quite good, but she sells the movie.
Yeah, and I haven't enjoyed any of the real the Dark Universe films. I mean,
oh no, it was terrible. That was good.
It had its moments, but I wasn't like really into it. And the other ones were they were all awful. It was just they lost what really makes the Universal monsters. And I don't know. They keep wanting to do mummy movies. That's it. They just keep wanting to bring back the mummy every time they reinterpret the universe, and it's
You got other
Yeah, opening with the mummy was weird.
Yeah. And with Tom Cruise in it too.
Yeah, well, we don't need to go there.
Well, I guess because the Brendan Fraser mummy made money, so they're just looking at dollars and cents. Like that's what worked. That's what made money. And the Wolfman remake, which is more classical in nature, that did not make money.
Mm-hmm. Neither did Dracula Rising, which was another attempt at a universe. I think at the end, it was I forget the actor's name. Charles Dance. Charles Dance was like sort of the Nick Fury of you're talking about Dracula. One. Yeah, and then of course you had Dr. Jekyll as the Nick Fury of that. The mummy thing, and they're just trying to make the Avengers but with monsters. And I hope they're honest, and that's what they titled the film, because it just the Avengers but with monsters. Just like it's not quite as easy a narrative to connect. Like, why would these guys know each other, and why would they hang out? So I don't know. I have not seen much from this ride, but what I have seen is like, I'd like to do that. I'd like to go there and see this. The last time I was at Universal Studios, they had very little of a monster presence at all.
Just the cafe.
Which then closed.
Yeah, and if they're upping it, great. I was excited when I saw a guy walking around in a Frankenstein costume. So this is fabulous, and they should also bring back the Jaws ride.
I've never been to Florida at all, let alone the Universal theme park in Florida. I wish this was in California because it'd be more likely I'd go to it. But because I've been to California many times, I've never been to Florida. But I'm curious about it. If I were going to go to Florida for some reason in the next couple of years, I probably, unless the reviews for this thing are just awful and the thing just bombs, if it's pretty decent, I think I'd like to try it out.
Don't go in July.
Oh yeah,
I honeymooned in Florida. It was brilliant.
I'm afraid of Florida, almost like Australia, because Australia, everything will kill you there.
Yeah,
everything I hear about Florida is that look out, just
alligators.
Yeah, everything.
I like seeing like gecko lizards everywhere, though.
Yeah, they are cool.
Yeah,
I'd love to go to Australia, see koalas. They're cute.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool, except you'd have, all the other animals that are trying to.
Yeah, like there's a lot of ticks there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There are here too.
I was just saying, there's tons of ticks here.
Yeah, I know. I did.
Yeah, Australia, you'd have like a spider this big just crawling up the wall behind you. Well, what else do you want to talk about? Any other thoughts? Anything that didn't come up that you were kind of hoping we would discuss, or did you have anything prepared that we didn't get to?
You met from the top of the show, and just now we mentioned Jekyll and Hyde a few times. I would like to see more Hyde toys. There aren't that many. There was over the years there've been like a smattering of them, but it would be nice if like NECA did a Frederick March Hyde, or they have the Universal one, so they could do the Abbott and Costello Mr. Hyde like Diamond Select did. But yeah, I don't know if someday Universal's going to kind of. They seem to keep dropping that character into things like Van Helsing and like, that wasn't Universal. Was it Universal that made Van Helsing? Yes, it was. Yeah. So they dropped him in there, and they dropped him into the Mummy too. So I'm like, well, they seem to want to have that character in there.
He was also in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know.
That was really convincing makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Abbott and Costello Mr. Hyde as far as, the most toyetic Hyde. That's the one I'd want to see. Like NECA, I would want to see them do that as part of their Universal series. Mm-hmm. But if they want to do Frederick March or some other one, that's cool too.
Yeah, Frederick March would be a great Hyde. He's one of the most monsterific ones for sure. I mean, not Spencer Tracy.
Isn't there a Ben Cooper? Well, you would know. Isn't there a Ben Cooper mask that's like modeled after that Abbott and Costello?
Yes, there is, Andy.
Yeah, he's going to get it.
There he goes. As a matter of fact,
it's right here.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
So there's also so I've got one that looks different than that. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
I'm trying to wrap this show up.
There's two different variations of them. And I don't know, it wasn't Ben Cooper that made this, actually. I think it may have been, it was like a rack mask. I'm not sure who made it, because it's got that, see the back, how it's that sort of tannish vinyl, Andy?
Oh, yeah.
Which Ben Cooper never really did. More like Bayshore or Halco would have masks like that. And there's two different variations.
Here's one I've got. Is that the same one you've got?
Yes, you've got the green with the red. That's what I've got. The green eyebrows, the green mustache, the red blood. Now there's a variation of this that's red, where the highlights are red on the eyebrows and red on the sort of mustache.
But there's a Halco one too that's different.
What is this one? Is this Bayshore?
Different, the mouth.
I think so. It's not Ben Cooper.
It's not Ben Cooper. I know that.
But there is a Halco one. Halco. It's different. To me, it's the same character, but it's not the same sculpt, exactly.
Right.
The mouth isn't cut out.
I wonder if maybe that's a Halco rack mask version of the one Ray was mentioning. I'm wondering if that's a Halco mask.
Because this one's definitely got it's got the same highlights that you've got, but I've seen one similar to this where instead of the green in the eyebrows and the green in the sort of goatee or mustache, it's red. It's a different paint variation.
Is that a 60s costume?
Yeah, that's definitely from the 60s. That I think is a rack mask. I don't know if there's an actual smock.
This is a rack. Oh, okay. I'm sure this is a rack mask.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Oh, that's awesome to see that. You think I might have planned that or something?
Not pre-planned.
I just happened to be there too, because I was rearranging a bunch of masks. I got a big stack of masks back there.
Of course you do.
Well, any other?
Well, there was that one question we had left off of the first time we did the chat about if there could have been one Halloween costume that we wish had been made. What would that have been?
Ray said the keep.
Yeah.
Well, there's two. On one hand, you can speculate about costumes that could have been. That's a different question than what costume would you like there to have been. Any weird costume would have come from Collegeville, because Ben Cooper's the more mainstream company and we do the more straightforward choices. Collegeville would do the weird ones. I think I've said before, I wonder why there wasn't a prophecy, the bear prophecy costume, and that it just seems like it should exist. Also, it seems like there should be an imperial prophecy jiggler to go with the grizzly jiggler. I would have liked to have seen that as a kid. And I can see the smock would have like the poster image of like the embryo, like that.
Right.
So that would have been cool to see that. As a kid, what would I have liked? I mean, obviously I was obsessed with Bigfoot and Yeti, and there were Ben Cooper Bigfoot costumes, but they were Sid and Marty Krofft Bigfoot, but they didn't really, push that on the.
They didn't call it Bigfoot and Wild Boy. They just called it Bigfoot on the smock. But then you see it has the Sid and Marty Krofft copyright under the foot. So,
which was a smart way to do it, I think.
Right.
But I don't think there was ever a Yeti costume. I would have loved to have seen an abominable snowman costume or a Yeti costume. That I don't know what that would have looked like. Probably would have had white hair. I don't know. As a kid, what would I have wanted as a kid? Because I think I was pretty satisfied as a kid with the selection of monsters and stuff. I mean, all the Universals were there. I don't think as a kid I would have wanted Hammer characters, not as a kid. I mean, I could rattle off every obscure Grindhouse movie that I'm obsessed with today, but as a kid, I wouldn't have been thirsting for any of those as costumes. So how about the rest of you? What are some ideas from the rest of you?
For me, I would say Super Samurai from Tarzan and the Super Seven. I think it was a segment called Freedom Force. I just thought that was the coolest character. And they did a web woman And I think that's it from that whole range. And it was like, I would have desperately wanted a Super Samurai costume.
Danielle?
Princess Ozza, Black Sunday, with little holes in the face. And I want more toys of her too. I have the distinctive dummies one here, which is, but I would like some official. I wish they would get Barbara Steele likeness license. But yes, a Princess Ozza witch costume from Black Sunday.
Is that what you want now, or would you have wanted that as a kid?
As a kid, maybe. I mean, it's more now, probably. I would say. I would have liked more Dark Shadows costumes because they had the Barnabas one from Ben Cooper, but it would have been cool to have like Angelique and something.
Make the werewolf or something else.
Yeah, or Angelique, which would be cool. But I guess those are the ones I would say. Yeah.
Brian, is that Barbara Steele?
Yeah, it is a knockoff of Barbara Steele. Yeah, and that's why I put her in the moon like that. I thought that didn't make any sense.
Well, Andy and Amy, how about you guys?
Invasion of the Saucermen.
I would love
I could see a costume of those guys back in the day.
That would have been incredible. That'd be number one, or most of the AIP characters. But if I got to narrow it down to one, it's the Invasion of the Saucermen.
I mean, if I'm being just realistic as to what I was into as a kid and what I really would have wanted as a kid, I mean, it does exist, obviously, Lily Munster, but that's who I would have wanted. I would have wanted it available to me.
Yeah.
As a kid. So I guess it's kind of a bad answer, but
true. You really have to check way in the back for that, eh?
Yeah, we're going to have to go to Building 19.
Building 19.
Building 19.
So they didn't put those out in the 70s at all, right? They were strictly limited to the 60s.
Yeah, they didn't make it into the 70s. Maybe some of the Dawn Post masks might have, like some of the rubber ones, but I don't think any of them.
That's strange because the monsters were very popular in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could, put out I know they were never there was a lot of Batman merchandise. It was obviously Batman 66, but not licensed through, but it was obviously even like the Mego Batman. That's obviously an Adam West inspired Batman.
Oh yeah. But there were so many other things, going for Batman at the time. He was on the Super Friends. He had 2 or 3 syndicated programs by that point. So it's probably just more of and not to mention being featured in like 6 or 7 comics a month. I think he's just, it's a little easier to bring that back. Like there was no real push on Gilligan's Island merchandise in the 70s, but it ran 5-6 times a day wherever you lived.
And there was a cartoon too. I remember the cartoon, and they repackaged the Groovy Ghoulies with the Gilligan's Island cartoon, and they would show that.
There was obviously a lot of Star Trek merchandise in the 70s.
Yeah.
And even I think you could even count Planet of the Apes in there, even though they do go into the 70s. There's that's sort of I think some of the merchandising was sort of an echo of something that started a decade previous.
Oh, sure.
Because here at your theater this weekend is the new Planet of the Apes movie. Now here's the merchandise. There's an overlap. I think there is some of that merchandise is because of the TV presence of the old
syndicated reruns and stuff. Yeah.
But not Monsters. We didn't get Monsters stuff in the 70s.
Yeah, I'm sure if somebody wanted to do it, they could have done it, but it didn't make a lot of sense, I guess.
We'll never know because it exists.
One too that there was no B9 robot. No Ben Cooper B9 robot from Lost in Space.
Yeah, there was just the generic Lost in Space costume. There was.
So what did the Ben Cooper Lost in Space costume look like?
It's just a helmet. It's an astronaut helmet, and there's 2 versions of it. One is just a helmet. It doesn't say anything on it, and then the other one actually says Lost in Space on it.
Just like on the show.
Yeah. And then the costume is actually more of an outfit, like an astronaut outfit with a ray gun and the belt, and it says Lost in Space.
And there's no robot, no Dr. Smith, no nothing.
No Dr. Smith. No
what kid wanted to be Dr. Smith?
I would have.
Why,
love
you
Dr. Smith.
pusillanimous
the pain.
toy purveyor. How dare you?
Although, I say that, but there's a Dr. Shrinker costume, and
Dr. Shrinker.
I put Jay Robinson and Jonathan Harris in the same bowl.
There we go. I remember that show. Was that the Bugaloos and Dr. Shrinker?
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Shrinker had the best theme song.
Dr. Shrinker, Dr. Shrinker.
No, as a kid, I loved Dr. Smith.
I did too.
He was
Me too.
Terrified me.
He was the best.
He was lost in space for me, not the robot. It was
Yeah.
the Dr. Smith show, as far as I was concerned.
His
I like the
terrified
banter between
screams.
Dr. Smith and the robot.
I have a weird relationship with that show because as a kid, I was dying to see it. And when I was 10, it finally aired. And the first season is so straightforward.
Yeah.
And as it goes along, it just gets campier and campier. And I remember being kind of like, oh, like, for me, the first few episodes, my 10-year-old brain were like, this is a great show. And then, as he takes over and you have talking carrots, it was a weird journey as a kid.
See, as a kid, I never picked up on the camp. Same with the Batman show. Like as a kid, Batman was a straightforward Batman show to me. And when the cliffhanger happened, I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen to Batman?
Yep, Sam.
And
I was
same
a
with
very
Lost in Space.
unironic kid.
Yeah, when Dr. Smith would scream, I'd be like, this is a grown man screaming. This monster must be terrified. What's going on? And I would be just as terrified.
But I thought he was funny though. Like even as
Yeah.
a kid, like
Right.
he was just, and especially when he would insult the robot and say, "You cantankerous clanking collection of balls," whatever he would say, But it's funny, and I think you mentioned this on your podcast one time, Brian. But and I've said this before too on my podcast as well. But it's like, all of those shows, those reruns of those shows, that's what was on TV all the time. We were watching stuff from like the 50s and 60s on TV all the time. And when I was really little, I didn't even realize, I didn't make a distinction between new shows and old shows. I'm like, this is what's on. Like,
Well, the Little Rascals, I figured out that it was a while ago.
Yeah.
I know what you're
black
saying.
and white. Black and white. Yeah.
A little
I know,
different.
like the monsters, like Universal Monsters, whatever. You go to the store and there's the monster toys right there.
Yeah.
So they're a current, just like, if it later Star Wars or whatever, they're on TV. And you go to the store, there's your figure, or there's your monster cereal. There's like this monster lifestyle all prepared for you in the merchandising. So it felt like now, it didn't feel like something from long ago.
Yeah.
And I think this unironic quality goes back to the toys. Like you're saying, I took all these things seriously, like Batman, whatever, I took it as like an actual adventure show or Lost in Space, an adventure sci-fi and sometimes horror related show. I didn't see any of this as ironic. And I think that goes back to the toys like we were talking about earlier, the rack toys. I didn't say, this is the junkier toy or this is the less well-made or whatever. They're all toys, like if it's Mego or a Hasbro thing, or if it's an Azrac Hamway or a Lincoln thing. I think because I just didn't have a sense of irony, it was all lumped together. It was all equally legitimate, whether it's, toys or movies or shows or magazines or whatever. So anyone burning with a desire to make one final point.
Well, I just want to mention the costume that I would pick if I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I would pick the green Gargantua from War of the Gargantuas.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, wow.
As a kid, I wanted Gargantua toys. As a kid, I wanted Gargantua toys.
Yes,
not a costume, but I wanted toys.
Me too.
But the costume would be fun. And I know the green Gargantua was the bad guy, but he was the cooler of the two. The cooler.
Well, I liked them both.
Yeah, I'm not picking favorites. Frankenstein Conquers the World. I wanted an action figure of. I still want an action figure of.
You can get those, but they're not cheap.
Well, I have a little statue I picked up in San Diego that'll have to do for now.
Yeah,
but I would like someone to make an 8-inch Mego type version of it. I would love that, but I don't know how many guys there are that want that.
I'm sure.
I think I would have liked like Shogun style, bigger.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Frankenstein would be hard to translate to that, but like some of the other Japanese kaiju kind of characters. I think
sure.
I did have the Godzilla. I had the Rodan, and I thought they were going to make Ghidorah and Moth. I thought they were going to make all of them, and they just stopped at those two.
Yeah.
Andy, were you going to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to make sure Rich mentioned his costume. I was dying to know what it was.
And I would also say Teenage Frankenstein, Andy. We're going for
Oh, that'd be a good one.
That's
The Blob. Blob would have been great too.
The Blob.
I can
Teenage
imagine a
Frankenstein
blob
gave me
costume.
nightmares as a kid.
Yep. It was terrifying.
It's grotesque. Yeah. Now I look at it and I go, I don't get what I was so scared of. But man, I remember how scared I was when that came in the window.
The other movie that terrified me was The Brain That Wouldn't Die, because one time Creature Feature
Oh God, that's
showed
creepy.
they showed the unedited version of it.
Oh,
With the nudity?
where he bites the guy's
off. Yeah, and it bites the guy's neck and he spits it out. And I don't know. And I was just like, and then like years later, I saw the film and that wasn't in there. And I'm like, I remember this guy's arm getting torn off and a chunk getting bitten out of his neck. I distinctly remember it. And it's
Yeah, I don't remember watching that particular film as a kid, but I did see a lot of films unedited. You know, I think that these local stations, they didn't care, but I think they saw, it looks like an old film, so it must be okay, and they didn't know what some of these old films had in them, particularly like late 60s, early 70s, which were not very old at that time. But a lot of these exploitation drive-in films had all kinds of.
I actually saw a giant spider invasion when I was like 12 on the local Buffalo station, and they kept the nudity in. Because I was just sort of like, did I just see nudity on, like, it's 2:00 on Sunday afternoon? I'm sure they got calls.
Yeah, I mean,
It's the Looney Tunes with you, and then it's that.
Yeah, no, I'm a magnet for nudity. Right place, right time.
you attract nudity.
Yeah. That's me, Mr. Skin. All right.
well, okay. Everyone's laughing, having a good time, so that's a good place to end it. Let's bring it to a close. So thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That was fun.
Nice discussion. Thank you very much. And I hope the audience enjoyed it as well. And if people are willing, we'll do more of these in the future. So until next time, the one who dies with the most toys is dead. Bye-bye.